Good evening. I would like to call the Flint Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. Board members, as I call your name, please reply present for the record. Treasurer Luna.
Present.
Trustee Rutherford.
Present.
Vice President King.
Present.
Trustee McNeil.
Here. Present.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre.
Present.
Secretary Perkins. And myself, President Clack. I'm definitely present. Okay, the board will now hear comments from the public. We ask that you state the reason for addressing the board and that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes on matters within the authority of the board and not address individuals by name. The presiding officer of the board will have the right to limit the number of persons who may address the board on the same subject. Please state your name, address before beginning to speak. Is there any, okay, I got it for you right here. Okay, Sharice Combs. Ms. Combs? Sir? Okay. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sharice Combs. I live in 1949 Laurel Oak Drive, Flint, Michigan, 48507. And I am a product of the Flint Community Schools. I went to Bryant. But my daughter is an 8th grader at Holmes. I'm a volunteer parent and have been since 2012, since we come back here from Texas. And I have emailed the superintendent's office a couple of times, probably in the past 6 months or so. I never got a response. But it was just out of frustration, mainly, because from 2012 till now, it's been a consistent complaint of no parent involvement, more parents getting involved. Whether they're working or whatever, they can still have some kind of notion of, well, can you email me? Let me know what was in the meeting. What can I suggest or whatever? And so just a PSA somewhat for the parents to get a wake-up call. Because unfortunately, none of us get younger. Everybody getting older, kids included. Choices and consequences. Parents are got to be held accountable, and so should the kids. I work close with Ms. Marjai Childress over there at Holmes. I think she had come up with some different suggestions about in-school suspension, some charter buses maybe for parents to get to the meeting, and maybe I'll even volunteer as taking kids on a Saturday to the library for reading and things like that. But something needs to be done. I just don't think a lot of kids getting that encouragement or just knowing that you're getting older. Time is flying. And you're going to have to eventually get a job and be able to take care of yourself. A lot of kids not getting that. And I know I'm an older parent, so I kind of feel like I'm preaching somewhat, But when I come up, we had my parents, we had our grandparents, we had their neighbors, we had our neighbors. It was all a collective to where everybody just kind of looked out. As parents, we all going through it. And so that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, next is Shanika, Ms. Gross, I'm sorry, Ms. Grass.
I am Shanika Grass, and I am a public speaker. My address is 1314 Briar Rose Drive, Mount Morris, Michigan. And I would like to see the abandoned schools in Flint to turn into shelters for the single moms, single dads, where they can be, create some classes while they're there to show them how to be reestablished again, of how to be paying rent and keep from being evicted. That way we can get some people off the street and open up more shelters here in Flint, because we have, 2 or 3 shelters, one for, one for the women, and then it's one for the men. Well, a couple for the men, like Carriagetown, my brother's keeper. Then we have one shelter of Flint. That one is, for, then we got the women's downtown, the women's shelter with the mission. So I would like to see that. I've grew up in Flint, born and raised here, and I went to some of the Flint schools, and they just sitting, rotten. And every time I ride through Flint and look at these schools, high schools, junior high schools, elementary, something need to be done instead of just sitting going to waste. That's money that's been built over the years for them to build the schools. I mean, I just don't like it. And I have 2 girls as well that go to Flint schools, and it's like, I just want to see something positive to turn into these abandoned schools that's just sitting, going to waste, while you got people abandoning them, you know, busting the windows out, trying to break in them. That's money that's been wasted. Like, I just want to see that where they can have some kind of women's shelter at a certain school with single kids and then single dads that have custody of their children, and where they can have some kind of course or a class to show them how to be reestablished again so they won't be getting put out or re-evicted, show them how to be self-sufficient again, because homelessness is not a good thing and they got kids. Been there, done that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grass. Next, we have Mr. Sexton, Robert Sexton.
Okay, I was here at the last meeting, and I addressed the fence at the school. I don't know if anything's going to be done about that yet, but since then I've started a Facebook page, Parents of Flint, Michigan Community Schools, to try to help you guys get this school straightened out. I've outlined some questions that I wanted to ask Mr. Jones. I sent him an email. He never answered me back. He never does. But I don't know if he wants to, I gave him a paper if he wants to read them or if he wants me to ask him personally. Is Mr. Jones here? Okay. In light of the schools that have been closed and the schools that need repairs, how much money did Flint schools get from COVID funding? And how much of that money was used for repairs on the schools? Not going to get an answer. Let me just read the questions.
Yes, sir, we don't respond.
All right. How was the rest of the money spent? Is there an accurate transfer accounting of all the money that was COVID related? Then in 2018, you guys entered into a partnership agreement with the State of School Reform, the Department of Education, and Redesign Officer. And what was the purpose of that agreement, and what was the outcome of that agreement? And I know there's going to be a new partnership agreement coming up mid-April. I know Potter School is part of that agreement. And I don't know what other schools are going to be there, but I guess it's like a probation for Flint schools. No, I get a couple things going here. And that agreement is because the Flint schools are failing. That's why they had to enter into that agreement. Then I posted some pictures on my Facebook page that shows repairs that need attention. That's really bad at Potter School. One of them needs a barricade. It's still no barricades and still not repaired. And then the other thing I'd like to know is, who's the insurance company for the schools? Do they allow all this stuff? I'd like to know who the insurance company is, or if you're self-insured. And then Mr. Stewart told East Village Magazine that safety advocates have been trained in PBIS. And what did that training consist of? And who was trained, and how come the student or the teachers weren't, or were they? Yeah, I just got a couple more questions. Thought maybe I'd get them answered here today, but I guess I won't. Which time? I got 7 seconds. I gotta hurry. Well, are you going to repair that fence at Potter or not? Is that it? I guess.
Yeah.
I'll save the rest for next time.
Thank you, Mr. Sexton.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
I gave it, all right, I think he has
it's up
already.
here. Ms. Carrie Downs.
Good evening, Board. My name is Carrie Downs. I'm blessed to serve as the lead for community education. Our main office is located at 452 South Saginaw here in Flint. The community education team is honored to do this collective impact work with you, and we are so glad to be partnering with more than 60 community members, organizations, businesses to best serve our scholars, because together we can support student success. Tonight, I'm pleased to share with you some highlights from our mentoring programs across the district that support our Flint scholars. Our community school directors lead 17 local grassroots organizations in providing mentoring support for our scholars, from organizations such as Boys to Mentors, Fathers That Care, Flint Jaguars Level Up with the Rhymes Institute, and Share the Keys, amongst many others. Our partners are focusing on social emotional supports, attendance, and academic support, and they're making a difference in the lives of our youth. Specifically, 707 unique Flint scholars are receiving mentoring support in small groups for a total of 142,000 minutes so far this year. That number, 707, represents 24% of the FCS population. Additionally, volunteers from across the city serve as success mentors for another 132 scholars in receiving one-on-one mentoring through our success mentoring program in order to support students in improving their attendance. We're so grateful for our volunteers who prioritize investing in our youth. Two specific programs that I'd like to highlight tonight are Donuts with Dads at DTM. This program invites dads, granddads, uncles, and other caregivers to come have a donut and a cup of coffee with their child before school and listen to motivational guest speakers such as Glenn Wilson, CEO from Communities First. What a wonderful opportunity to have 45 to 50 male caregivers show up to send a clear message that our scholars' education is important. Additionally, this week, we're hosting 50 Howard University students across the district as they volunteer during their alternative spring break. Howard College students are serving as panelists in the schools to highlight college positivity, powerful conversations about culture, and HBCUs. This annual partnership is led by Community School Director Mohammed Aboutawila, as he has served as the host for Howard University students since 2015. Please join me in honoring those 50 Howard University students and the investment they're making in our Flint Community School scholars. Thank you so much, Board.
Thank you, Ms. Downs. Last, we have Mr. Bruce Jordan.
Good evening, Board. Bruce Jordan. I am the MEA Uniserv Director, assigned to represent the United Teachers of Flint. I will be brief because I think everybody wants to be out of here before 11 tonight. I want to speak to the positive. I love the fact that this board is communicating. I love the fact that the administration is open to discussion, collaborative, and in lockstep with the teachers. It's the first time that I'm aware of in the last 18 or 19 years that it's been such a positive relationship. I want to speak to the repairs at Potter that I heard the gentleman talk about. The repairs are getting done, albeit slow, but I'd rather this board and this administration take it slow and make sure it's done correctly. So I appreciate all the renovations and the communication that this board and the administration has been sending out. I do want to speak a little bit of the massive amounts of exodus of teachers and support staff in the district. Just this week, I learned that there are 5 or 6 retirees coming out of one building before the end of the school year. I believe, and I could be wrong based on my numbers, but I believe that'll put about 80% vacancies in that one particular building. So I think it's time that the strategic plan meets the new buildings plan, meets the closing of schools plan, and meets the restoration of teachers' wages. If we don't kick the can down the road of the exodus of our senior staff, you're not going to be open much longer, and that is the reality. I implore you, I beg you to collaborate, discuss, ask questions of Attorney Gardner. I see he's not here again today to give the board an update of bargaining with the teachers, but I do know that we need to talk, and we need to do it together, because if we don't, I fear, truly fear for the lifeblood, the heartbeat of Flint Community Schools. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Jordan. Okay, any other speakers? Anyone else want to speak, address the board? Okay, thank you. Sir? Okay.
My name's Terry Jones. I'm the Vice President of Teach Out Security Solutions. I just stop in about once a month to make sure everything's good. So if everything's good, I'll leave. Thanks.
Ma'am?
I wasn't originally expecting to speak right away, but since I've heard a few
Ma'am,
people
excuse me.
bring...
State your name.
Oh, sorry. My name is Jasmine Allen. I am a resident of 945 East Roof, Flint, Michigan, 48505. I'm a former alumni of Scott elementary students, a graduate from Northwestern, as well College for Creative Studies graduate too. So within the past year, I've moved back to Flint, Michigan. And it has been shocking to see how the schools are decaying and the struggles of sustaining, the vibrancy throughout the city, along with the blight and things of that nature. So I've been trying to figure out how can I be a contribution to the aesthetics of the community, dealing with the schools, as well as the neighborhoods. So this is my first time coming to a board meeting, so I am glad to hear the previous speakers bring up about renovations. I would love to be an open contribution or a contract of discussing on the possibilities of where you guys resign in your process in renovating, and if I can be any form of assistance. And also where to begin in that process. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, thank you. Now let's proceed with the agenda. Continuing with the agenda, I now turn the floor over to Vice President King for the Human Resources Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda.
Thank you. I would like to call the Human Resources Committee of the Whole meeting to order. I will now call upon Superintendent Jones to present action to the board.
Greetings, community, and greetings to our board. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 1.2, personnel recommendations to the regular board meeting on March 15th, 2023 for adoption. And I'm going to ask Ms. Galloway to come over just in case there's any questions, and to speak on one of the items that's on the agenda.
Okay. Is there a motion? Is there a motion? You making a motion, Mr. President?
No, I'm saying I walked over here, I missed it.
You want me to repeat it? I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 1.2, personnel recommendations to the regular board meeting on March 15th for adoption.
I'll make a motion. Move it to the board, regular board
So it's
meeting.
been moved. Any second? So President Clark,
Can the president do that?
so I'm the chair.
Okay, so, okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
okay, no problem. So President Clark moved it. Any support?
Second.
All right, now we're in discussion. Is there any discussion? Trustee McIntyre?
I'd like to make a friendly amendment to the motion that we separate the first section, the administrators, separately from the teachers and the change of assignments.
So your amendment, make sure I have it right. You just taking out the top portion, not the teacher's part. You want to separate the top portion.
But individually. So I would like to separate both of those positions as well. So I would like to separate the first position and the second position from the rest of the motion.
Is there any support or objections?
Support.
Okay, support. We have to vote on that, right? We have to vote on an amendment, right? Okay, all right. So the amendment is to separate individually of each administrator position's assignments. As I call your name, signify by saying yes to the amendment. Treasurer Luna?
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford?
Yes.
President Clark?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Secretary Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre?
Yes.
Trustee McNeil?
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right, it's been separated. So, pleasure of the board here, so should we just should we entertain the motion to approve the rest of the personnel recommendations and then move on into the separations? I would seek a motion to do that, to
So
approve.
moved.
Second. Support.
All right, it's been moved by Trustee McIntyre, it's been supported by Trustee McNeil to move the teacher section of the personnel recommendations. Now we have a roll call vote.
Are we also moving changes of assignment? Just
Yes.
want-
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Everything but the
Everything under-
administrative
Under the
section.
teachers, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Secretary Perkins,
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre,
Yes.
Trustee McNeil,
Yes.
President Clark,
Yes.
Treasurer Luna,
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford,
Yes.
myself, yes. All right, moving on to the amended motion to separate both administrator positions. So we should start with the MTSS supervisor. Okay, so Trustee McIntyre, do you have something to comment on this?
I move that we approve this assignment, or move it forward to the
The general?
committee of the whole.
I mean, the regular meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Support.
It's been moving properly seconded. Is there any discussion? I will interject right quick. Do Ms. Galloway want to input on the MTSS, or would you want to wait to the HR manager?
I can make input on both of them. After the last board meeting, we weren't able to get in communication with the candidate. I recently heard from her, and she is still interested, but did make sure that we were aware that she had other opportunities on the horizon. So we're not 100% sure where she stands. And in reference to the HR manager listed, we submitted an offer. We put it in the packet over the weekend. She did a little research and reconsidered and has since declined the offer. So unfortunately, that it's a moot point at this point.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you for that.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion on the MTSS position motion at the moment?
I have a question.
Trustee Rutherford?
Are we just going to approve the position without a candidate?
Point of
What's your point, trustee McIntyre?
We're talking about the MTSS supervisor?
Yes.
So that does still have a candidate, is that correct?
Yes, she did. She was very clear that she is still interested. She just wanted to make sure that we knew that at this point,
So-
she has other opportunities. Because
Right.
at that point, this was not confirmed, right?
I got you. Okay.
For clarification, if she
Trustee
has,
Rutherford?
I'm sorry, if she has other things on the horizon, it's not a commitment.
I would,
I would actually, my question is, don't we need a commitment to approve a job?
Well,
If-
she, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
She originally accepted the offer, and that was the only commitment that she could give. It appeared from her side that we hadn't committed to the offer we had extended. So she can't really, she couldn't, she's interested in the position as it was proposed and interviewed for, but it appeared that this board was not interested in hiring her. So I can't speak for a person who's not here, but she wanted us to know that she was interested, but nothing was confirmed, right? At that point, we had offered her the position. It's been over a month since the position was offered. It was to be voted on last month, and it wasn't. So she couldn't just leave her whole life kind of in the balance.
I can see that. Any other discussion? Trustee Rutherford?
Can you reopen it, since she's not sure? I mean, a lot of people are interested, so it's like she's in the same place where everyone else is.
A lot of, we don't have proof that a lot of people are interested.
If you posted, you will know.
I would interject here and say, the board didn't approve a position, administrative position last board meeting. So we left the candidate stalling from their position, their current position that they have, where they're employed at. So I can understand where a person is coming from. I was intending to work and, hoping to be confirmed. I haven't had no communication through that. Am I confirmed or not? Now I'm waiting to balance at the job I'm currently at to move over. So I will understand the person saying, I'm interested coming. However, I mean, there are people, I mean, there's no secret that hiring shortages are everywhere. So, of course, other folks will want, people that meet those qualifications, have the resume that that candidate has. Of course you would have that. So, I mean, I can understand where that candidate is. So from my perspective right now, assuming that we approve this and it goes through to the regular meeting and it get approved, I believe, I can't speak for it, but you would accept it because you was already interested into it. You got a packet for it. So that's my take on it. Is there any other discussion?
Just that our previous MTSS supervisor was with us for more than 5 years. And we posted as soon as he let us know that he was leaving. It was open for 7 months, and we did not, we had one totally qualified candidate. So my response was based on that.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Yes, Trustee McNeil, I'm sorry.
Hi, thank you. We know that this is a very important position, MTSS, and they're not standing in line. People are grabbing them by the dozen. I accept your explanation. I'm supporting this move. I'm just one board member, so that's all I have to say.
Is there any other discussion?
Yes, I don't have a problem.
Trustee Rutherford?
I don't have a problem with it. I just want to make sure we have a candidate. That's all. I support this position. I just can't support a candidate that can't say yes. It's just yes or no. How do we vote for something and we don't have a candidate? That's all I'm asking. If someone can explain that to me, I'll be fine with it.
Secretary Perkins.
Ms. Galloway,
Yes,
if the young lady is presented with this offer again and can you get the confirmation?
So I tried to be as clear as I could be. She accepted the offer, right, before it goes to board, as all the positions are. So they say yes to the offer. When the board did not vote to hire this person last month, we had to respond and let her know. We assured her that it was not a reflection of her skills or her education or our desire to hire her. The response from her was paused. I continued to follow up. I finally heard back from her. She did confirm that she was still interested. But the relationship between a hiring employer and a candidate, it is appropriate for them to let us know there are other opportunities, and this process has extended longer than I would have expected. So that is professional. That is more than acceptable when you've accepted an offer, you've communicated to your current employer that you're moving, yet the current employer extended an offer to you, but really didn't hire you. So it appears to me that we're the people that haven't really made a commitment. We extended an offer, but we couldn't really extend an offer, right? So she has expressed that she's still interested, but the job being up in the air is on this board. It's not on the candidate at this point.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Secretary Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre?
Yes.
Trustee McNeil?
Yes.
President Clark?
Yes.
Treasurer Luna?
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford?
No.
Myself, Terry King, yes. All right, moving on to the
Mr. Chair.
HR manager position. Treasurer Luna?
I can wait. Is this a kind of
Okay,
general?
I was simply going to say, since, the applicant pulled out, there's nothing we can do, so,
Right.
I mean, should we just, vote it down and, okay. I would just seek a motion that we,
I would not like to vote down, because then we would have to go
Start-
through a different process.
Okay, so, okay,
So if we could just not move it.
not move it,
There
okay.
you go.
So vote no to move it to the regular meeting, basically, okay.
Just not have a motion,
Right.
right?
Right.
Oh, it was pulled out for
Because it was
discussion.
separated.
I'm sorry,
Right.
I apologize. It was pulled out by trustee McIntyre for action, but hearing that information, there is no action needed. All right, is there any discussion on any other
Yeah.
person?
I
Yes,
just have a-
Treasurer Luna.
I have a few questions. I'm not sure if it's appropriate, but just for my benefit as a board member, could you explain to me, just like the process when when the posting goes out, when you interview candidates, you kind of finalize the top one or the top couple ones, and then, in layman's terms, I'm not,
Okay, so a posting, we go through requisition. When there's an opening, we review the job descriptions and the requirement. It has to be approved by several people. The posting goes out when we receive candidates or when the posting closes. So typically, we don't have a recruiter, so our benefits person is doing that work. We try to review candidates as they come in so we don't get behind. And we screen those candidates, meaning we review their application to determine whether or not they're qualified for the first interview, right? And so we contact them if they're not. We schedule them for the first interview. We have a panel for that. Each panel member has to complete a conflict of interest form. They receive questions. The interview is completed. The points are calculated. The person is then moved to a second interview. If the position, administrator positions typically are, needs a second interview. They're moved to that second interview. A decision is made. At that point, we review whatever scale that is, whatever their skills and requirements are, and we submit an offer to the candidate. The candidate responds to that offer, and then we prepare that candidate's information for the board packet for the board to approve. So the candidate is typically in limbo because although we've made an offer to them for the job, right,
it's conditional.
it's conditional on this board's approval.
I had two more questions, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair.
Well, well, I would
They are
say-
notified that that is the process as well.
I would say, Treasurer Luna, could we add that to the HR subcommittee, and we can have
Yeah,
that
that's
discussion
fine.
so we can move the
Yeah.
meeting? Is that okay?
That's cool.
All righty. Seeing no further business, I declare the Human Resources Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned. I now turn the floor over to Treasurer Luna of the Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda.
Thank you, sir. What time is it? I would like to call the Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole meeting to order at 7:06. I now call upon Superintendent Jones to present action to the board.
Thank you. I'm going to wait until they are settled, and then we'll move forward. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 11.8, approval FY23 amended number 1 general fund budget to the regular meeting on March 15th, 2023 for adoption.
So moved.
Support.
I have a question.
Okay, one real quick. It's been properly moved and supported.
I'm sorry.
Trustee King, what's your question?
I apologize, Mr. Chair. To Superintendent, did you say 11.8 through 11.11 or 11.12?
Just 11.8.
Oh, okay. So we're going by each by one. I'm sorry. I had asked clarification. I didn't hear that part.
Okay.
No further questions for me.
You got it. Is there any discussion on 11.8? Going once? Trustee McIntyre?
So I basically don't really have a lot of information. Could you just sort of give us an overview, Tish, so that we can kind of, I mean, Dr.
It's okay, absolutely. So I
Thank
do
you.
have a PowerPoint. I think Steve's going to get it up for me here just momentarily. So I do have a PowerPoint to go along with this amendment. In addition to that, I did put some more informational in there because we have a lot of new board members. So this one might just have a little bit of extra information for you. Let me see, a little closer. Is that better? Okay, perfect.
Thank you so much. That is just
Okay.
very helpful, and I knew that you would have something.
I
So
do,
thank
so
you.
perfect.
Yes.
So I'll have some handouts as we go through this. I'll have Chris hand them out, this will be the first one. So the budget development process here, so the most important thing is to understand what our budget year is, July 1 through June 30 of any fiscal year. We are going to, when we do these budget developments, we're going to look at a lot of different aspects in different areas. The initial budget for the school year that we're currently operating in, 22-23, we presented in June of 2022, and this should be expected every year when you go forward. You should always have your next year's budget presented in May or June timeframe, and then it would be approved prior to the end of June for the next fiscal year so we can continue to operate. We can only recognize revenues and expenses that happen during that fiscal year. So if it happened during that time frame, that's what we're going to recognize here. Please understand that some of our grants overlay multiple years. So while we recognize and we bring forth large numbers, we may not always recognize dollar for dollar in that fiscal year. So sometimes we're carrying it over to the next year. These are estimates. They're developed at a one-time moment in time with known things and estimated things that we expect to happen based on conversations, board approvals, grant narratives that we know about and have sitting in front of us. So right now, as we go forward, how do I move forward? Just click? Okay. So one of the things we do look at is the grants. The grants are individually budgeted, and then we look at what can we expend during that fiscal year. We also look at your special education, we're looking at our state aid, we're looking at our foundation allowance, we're looking at the students, how many we are capturing during student count days, those are very important. One of the biggest things is that when we do our initial budget, please understand we know that there's sometimes talk that they're going to have increase in allocation for students, but we don't typically recognize those. We'd like to err on the side of being conservative and pick that up with that first amendment. So as those go through, we can do multiple amendments throughout the year. If it was significant enough, I could always bring it back in November, December to recognize that real quick for us just to get going forward. Another thing that we want to make sure we're looking at is right now this month in the additional, you'll see it coming forward after this budget, are things for like transportation, custodial, technology, and those other big contracts. So some of my subcontracts are being presented now. It's because it's part of my budget development that you're going to see in June. So it's important to understand that while they're going on now, we're still operating and just trying to push forward and make sure we're hitting these benchmarks. Construction process, projects, it's important to understand that I can only recognize work that's been done through June 30. So that's a moving target, and there's a lot of variables in there, and those are large dollar amounts. So please understand we may fluctuate up and down between now and June, depending on what's actually done and the work that's there. So any hiccup we might have might reduce that number by a lot. So please, I just want to be mindful of that and vocalize that, because we do have a lot of construction projects going on. Again, with the ESSA grants, understanding our sunset dollars on those, the dates of when they're going to close. And again, just like with those grants, when they close on September 30th, my fiscal year closes June 30th, I can only recognize what happened during that time frame. So anything that's in my buildings. I did want to just bring this one back forth, as I brought it forth in the beginning, our ESSA grant deadlines. And I can send this PowerPoint out to the group here. Okay, yep, Pam's got it too, and you have it too. So they can send that out with those hard deadlines, and those are important, especially for ESSER 2 and 3, because ESSER 2 ends in September, 3 a year from September. So what I did here was, this is my actual amendment. So when you're looking at your board document, this would be page 26 of your board document. So I kind of segregated it in column A and column B. Column A is what you approved in June initially. Column B is what I'm bringing forth today as my amendment, and this is going to recognize a significant amount. You know, we have quite a big variance here, and I think a lot of this is because of the construction projects that are going on. So I'm going to increase on where I think we're going to be with those construction projects based on the conversations we've had. We had some additional grants come forth. We've gotten some of our RFPs done, so having those done and being able to allocate those funds and by curriculum, those type of expenses are now being recognized in there. In addition, I have reduced some lines because we have vacancies. So at this point in the year where I have not filled a vacancy, I would reduce that line at that point and unencumber, unrecognize those expenses, because I'm not going to hit those if there was nobody there to pay for those expenses. Sometimes we have filled them with a third-party contractor, and by doing so, there might be a higher cost, so I have to increase those lines. What you see here is a roll-up by function code. So I know there's a lot of questions as to what goes into those specific function codes, and I did create a document. Where'd that document go? Did you have it? Give it to you? Oh, you gave them out. Perfect. That's even better, because that's what I was looking for. I thought I was crazy for a second. Okay, sorry. So this document here, as you look at this, this is going to break out those function codes for you. So where it says local sources for revenue, I have a 1XX, and I went out here and I kind of highlighted what is a local source. That's my state aid, my taxes, that per pupil allocation, any local revenues I'm pulling in. And so I kind of did that by line for each one of these, so it was kind of easy to follow who falls in where. Because I know sometimes it can be kind of deceiving what's out there when it says something like, business. Well, what is business? Is it me? Is it Chris? Is it my purchasing people, AP people? So it kind of breaks it down for you to kind of give you a better understanding. Because I know there's a lot of question about that, especially like the 2-1X where it says pupil. It's not just your pupil accounting downstairs. That's your social workers, your nurses. So it's imperative that we understand that when we're looking at those numbers, there's a lot that goes into it. We could, at any point, if you have a finance subcommittee meeting or committee of the whole meeting, we could look at this and maybe relabel these for you guys going forward, if that would be more beneficial, since we have a new board. I'm always open to recommendations and suggestions in this area.
Yeah. And on that same note, I think it'd be helpful, not at this meeting, but maybe like at a workshop where there's more of a presentation and a Q&A, because we're not all CPAs, we're not all MBAs, and just for us to ask questions that make us make better decisions when we go through this process, I think would be helpful.
Absolutely. And so I think that would be extremely beneficial, and I'm really open to that, because there's a lot of accounting lines that go into this, and this just rolls it up. So it's hard to see everything in there just from a huge snapshot. So I would love to make sure everybody's comfortable with what's being brought forth, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on that. So my next snapshot here. Oh. Are you sure? Okay, perfect. I can always go back if we need to. So I'm just talking here what our beginning fund balance is. This is what our ending fund balance was at the beginning of the year. I'm recognizing our new revenues where we expect to be as long as everything goes forward, and then the expenses, and then our ending fund balance for this year. So with that, I know that that fund balance is up there, but I want to articulate, we are spending out of that fund balance when we're doing some of those projects that are not ESSER allowable, our parking lots, some of our roofs, whatever's not allowable in that ESSER, we are touching that fund balance. While I cannot deduct it from that fund balance right now, I can't do it until those projects physically happen. So it's absolutely imperative we understand that while we see that number, we've already allocated some of that fund balance towards these projects, which are great investments for the district, because it's really going to move us forward.
I have a question, Treasurer Luna.
Yeah, Trustee King, go ahead.
So I think, for me, I think even when the community look at this, $97,350,917 were in expenditures.
Correct. Expected expenditures through June
Expected.
30. Mhm.
And the revenues don't just include pupil count, that's grants as well?
So that's going to be anything from local, state, and federal.
Okay.
So that's going to be my per pupil allocation and all of my grants. We are really grant heavy, so there's a significant amount of grants loaded in
So
there.
I just want to make sure that we conveying the message to the community, not as we have $104 million in revenue, but most of that is for grants and it's tailored to certain things.
Correct.
I just want to make sure we conveying that message because it'll be like,
Absolutely.
oh,
And a
they
lot
got,
of that
they
is
got a lot.
ESSER.
But
Yeah, a lot is ESSER too, so we need to be mindful of that.
Okay.
And you need to also be mindful of anything from ESSER 1 that may have came over because we didn't receive it before June 30, because we had until September of last year to spend it, I don't want people to forget that we had stuff come in after July 1 that I'm recognizing this year that we ordered prior year.
Okay. And
So we're mindful of that too.
another thing, Treasurer Lewin, that should be done if there's nothing else. Could this be uploaded to our website
Absolutely.
for our community? So seeing that one-page thing, some folks like, what is that? Same question I had. But this is wonderful, explaining to me what local sources is, what, other things are. But I think that'd be helpful if we can put that on, just a request, that we put this on the website to help our community understand what this is, especially when they ask us questions, we can reference this. That'd be all for me. Thank you.
So I have Trustee Rutherford next, then Trustee McIntyre.
I just have a quick question, clarification for the beginning funding balance. That's not actual, correct?
That is.
I thought you.
Well, that's a moment in time
That's
from June
right.
30, when they actually did our books and they audited us. That was our ending balance as of June 30.
Okay.
But as of July 1, we started spending, so
Correct.
that changes. It's a moment
Correct.
in time.
Okay, so my question is, can we have in red beside that what it actually is? So for my question to you, so you're saying that is at that time? Am I understanding you correctly? That's June 30th, as of June 30th, right there? what
Yep,
I'm looking
after
at.
we were audited, so that's after our official
Correct.
audit and everything has been tied out.
Okay.
That's where we landed.
So that's June 30th. My question to you is, can you have beside it what's actual now? For example, that's June 30th. What has transpired where some more money came in or some more money went out to where we can have that figure? Because right now, that doesn't serve me today being March 8th. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that number, I want to make sure I articulate.
That,
So-
that number is June 30th.
But that's where your beginning balance is.
Right. That's June, what I'm looking at is June 30th. Okay, what is it today?
I'm estimating June 30 will be 50,509,07, the 50 million at the end of the year.
So what's now? So that's the end of the year. That's the beginning of the year, correct? I'm just talking about
Like,
now.
right this
If
moment
I
in
needed to see
time?
right now, what is right now? That's what I would like to see beside that 43.
That's not something I'm prepared to be able to do.
That's okay, but no. In the future, I would like that because that will help me to see where we are.
I'm not sure how I could do that because.
If you know you got some money in, whatever you got in after June 30th.
But I still have
keep a
bills
ta-
coming in and
keep
out
a-
every
you
single
keep
day.
You keep a tally. You can keep a tally.
But I do that in my ledger.
Okay, so I should be able to see that number. I just want to, I don't want to have a guess. I think it's easy. First of all, I don't want you to think I'm hammering you. I just want to be able, one with me being the chair of academics, I want to see where some money's at so that we could do certain things. So if there's some money left, I would like to go towards the children. So that is why I'm pressing, because I need to know where money is at. You don't have to answer today, but that's just something I would like, because it's nothing like a running tally. That helps to make a decision.
But it's not like a personal checkbook. We have things
I
coming
didn't say
in
it
and
was.
out.
Okay, let
I
me help
mean,
you. Let me help you. Discrepancies are taken care of on a 30, on a monthly you pay. So whatever that is, I just want a snapshot of that. That's not hard. It's not. Because from June 30th to today, that's a lot. And if you're guessing, it's a guess.
Trustee Rutherford,
I'm done.
I think one thing that I could do as the chair of FINAP is take questions like that and just try to make a list and give them to her and see how we can do a workshop to address it. But Trustee McIntyre, go ahead.
So, yeah, thank you, Dr. Wolf. Thank you so much. I had two major things to say. The first, though, is to address Trustee Rutherford that this is the accounting procedure. This is, I mean, she basically did answer your question. So, I mean, I appreciate that, Tish. And hey, I'm getting my MBA, so I'm like figuring out more and more of like what this means. And so I understand, and I understand what Trustee Rutherford is asking, but again, it's not like a personal checking account. This is as close as you're going to get, and this is fantastic because I'm sure the new board members don't remember that before they were on the board with your predecessor, this was off the table. This was not allowed to be discussed. We had screaming about providing this. So the fact that we have the level of transparency, I think the administration and the board and the administration is to be commended for the level of transparency that we are at a year, 2 years, 3 years later. So this is so much clearer than it was last year and so much clearer than the year before. And I really appreciate your attitude and you taking the time to explain it in a way that it's easily digestible. I think that Trustee King, I love the idea of putting this up so that the public can also do this, because before your tenure, this was obscured in something. It just was not open, it was not available, it was not transparent. We were told the money was in the bank, you know, when we asked questions. And so this is confusing enough with the best of times under the most cooperation. And so again, I just can't say enough about the fact that this process is head and shoulders above what it used to be. And so I appreciate it, and I appreciate the contributions from our trustees, but I just want you to acknowledge and recognize that what we're dealing with now as opposed to what we're dealing with in the past. And this gives us something to, look at so that we can overcome our obstacles and move forward with things. So thank you.
Treasurer Luna.
Trustee King.
I would encourage my colleagues, so if we have a special meeting for Finance Committee of the Whole, to allow Dr. Tish to educate us on finance. So like I did in HR subcommittee, which we should do for the HR Committee of the Whole, is allow the director to give an overview of their department. So I'm a big person on, if I'm talking to someone, I want to understand their language. So what I mean by that, I want to understand Dr. Wolf's language. She gave us the function codes. Ms. Murphy mentioned function codes. Now I can follow what function code is. So I would encourage my colleagues, I think I will ask Treasurer Luna, see if we can set that date up to allow that, whether it's the Finance Committee, the whole meeting, to allow Dr. Tish to go over finances. For one, I think it'll educate our public and us at the same time, so we all know what grants it is, how to understand finances, because as we talk to community members, we need to be educated in our responses and how we respond to certain things. And also, as we go into budgeting is really starting today in that nature. So for us new, I don't know everything about finances. I will always depend on Dr. Wolf to help me learn her language. I'm learning day by day, but I would encourage my colleagues, so let's set that meeting up for the new board members in tandem with our older ones, so we can understand history and how do we move forward. That's what I'm looking at. Thank you.
Trustee McNeil.
Hi. I want to thank you, Trustee King, and you're 100% right, even though we are seasoned board members, but Data change every day. I would love to see that workshop so we all can be on the same page. Once again, Dr. Tish, thank you. It's been a long time getting to this point where we can really understand what is actually going on. And so now it is about educating the board, and I appreciate what Trustee King has said, and maybe we get together and do a financial workshop. I would love to learn a little bit more. Thank you for a great job.
Thank you. So I think the last slide I have here is my foundation allowance. I know I mentioned it earlier, but this was shoring up that conservative approach because we did have that increase for per pupil allocation. So that was shored up in this as well, so, yeah.
Is there any more discussion? Any questions for Dr. Wolf? All right, well, I have one comment and one question. My one comment is, I really think that the more right information we have and the more open, kind of transparent communication, it helps us make better decisions, and it also makes our meetings go faster. So I really encourage my colleagues and the administration members to, let's just make sure we're transparent, we communicate our questions so we can have good moments like this where it seems like we're all on the same page and we're asking good questions. So I really commend my colleagues for that. But that's it. But with seeing no further discussion, a motion to move resolution 11.8, approval of the fiscal year 23, amended number 1, general fund budget, to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Assistant Secretary and Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
Trustee Ellis McNeil.
Yes.
President Clack.
Yes.
Trustee King.
Yes.
Trustee Relaford.
Yes.
And myself, Treasurer Luna, yes. All right, motion passes 7-0. All right, Mr. Jones, continue.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to move resolution 11.9, auditing services, to the regular meeting on March 15th, 2023 for adoption.
So moved.
Is there support?
Support.
All right, wasn't sure who was first. I know Trustee King moved it, and Mr. Clack, President Clack, supported it. All right, it's been properly moved and supported. Is there any discussion on the agenda item?
I have a question.
Trustee Relaford,
What services is it? I just want to know what it is.
could you repeat that?
It's auditing services, right?
Yep, 11.9.
Right, I just want an explanation of it.
So on an annual basis, we're required to have a CPA firm come in to audit our books to make sure that we're following all of the accounting guidance that is out there and to make sure that we are not doing anything different. So it's an oversight of our books. So she physically comes in, she audits us, we prepare our CFA, which is our scheduled federal expenditures for all of our federal grants, and they review everything, and they do testing, they're reviewing our policies and procedures, they do the whole thing for us. So they oversight that and then publish official documents, and those are published and sent to MDE.
What's the name of the service?
Right here.
The company, Stevenson and Company.
Okay. How did we do on our last audit? Did they do our last audit?
They did. That
How
was
was
their first year coming in to do our audit.
How was that?
It was wonderful.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any further discussion?
Yes. What does that mean? It was wonderful. What does
I
that mean?
couldn't have asked for anything better. It
Well,
was a
what does
great
it mean?
audit. They
How many
came in.
findings did we have?
I think we had a couple findings that we had to work on. 3, if I remember. I don't know them off the top of my head. I can go pull them from the,
It is my understanding that we didn't have any findings.
well, not findings,
But we had
they-
suggestions
suggestions.
of change.
Yes.
So we had 0 findings. So I want to make sure that the board understands that and knows what that means, okay? Year prior, we had we had 2 findings. Those were cleaned up, but there is things that they suggested that we change in our system.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. There's
Just
recommendations.
want the public to understand what wonderful means.
Oh, sorry.
Trustee McIntyre, go ahead.
Yeah, and so just a point of information, again, thank you, and thank you Superintendent Jones. This firm, we are fortunate and lucky to have them, especially given the horrific treatment that we received from Plant Moran and their level of service that was just less than satisfactory. And so we were like at a cross, we were actually at a loss because there are just very few firms who are available and willing to do this kind of work. And so we're lucky to have someone who actually cares about the Flint schools and cares about our success and is able and willing to do this work. So I'm hopeful and positive moving forward with this. And as Superintendent Jones said, we had 0 findings. So that's really great. That's, like you said, it's really good. So let's keep trying to move positively forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee McIntyre. Is there any further discussion? Question, oh, sorry, Trustee McNeil.
Just a question or comment to Dr. Tish. Did all the new board members get the booklets from the last audit? You know, we have those binders they gave us. It was little booklets. Am I correct, Mr. Jones? And it'll show you everything that that audited, the CPA firms.
We got that in our,
Yeah, okay. I just want to know.
The red, sorry, Mr. Chair.
you go ahead.
Trustee McNeil, you talking about the red folder we received January 5th?
I don't know what
in
kind
order?
you guys received, but
The
Mr.
red
Jones
folder
said
we
you got it,
received-
yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm speaking to Meg. The red folder we received in our orientation? Okay, that 88 or like 80-some page audit. That was I read through the audit. I think there's some work to do with the board policy, but it was good. So, Dr. Wolf, I'm sorry.
That's
So,
okay.
can you define findings for me? So, findings is, explain that for me. Like, what is a finding in an audit?
From a difference between a finding and a recommendation?
Yes.
That means a finding means I violated something.
Okay.
I did something wrong and I need to change my practices. I could have coded something wrong or overpaid somebody, something of that nature. A recommendation means that there's I don't want to say weakness, but there's an area that needs some improvement. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that you're violating anything. It's just an area that, hey, you might want to focus on maybe getting some better internal procedures. Sometimes it's caused because we don't have the staff, like, oh, somebody opens the mail, the next person makes a deposit, somebody does that. So those 3 little aspects could cause, and from my perspective in a business department, a security or, a concern. So they're not major things, they're not violations, it's just areas of where we could grow.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I would also ask that when we have this, anticipating the Finance Committee of the whole special meeting, so you can go over what recommendations there are. We see them in the book, but what is our administration is doing to, solve those recommendations, how we can improve, with the board need to adopt policy. I saw a recommendation that the board adopt a policy in certain areas. So I think, anticipating that finance special meeting for the cow, that'd be wonderful for you to go over so we can understand what is being done to resolve those recommendations.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I could have all that ready for you. That would not be an issue.
You had a question?
All right, Trustee Relaford, go ahead.
What was one recommendation? I just want to know one.
So one of our recommendations were having like our student activities accounts. So we need to make sure that our student activities accounts are being tracked and logged. So if, let's say, your robotics team is going out and you're having pizza with your kids, you should have your kids sign in. We should be able to see any type of, if they took gate revenue, how many people came in, you're logging those type of things, ticket sales, things of that nature. So maybe just having a better system in place to actually have people have better sheets, maybe hasn't been pushed out in a while, just reviews in those areas.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move Resolution 11.9, aka Auditing Services, to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Assistant Secretary and Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
President Clack.
Yes.
Trustee King.
Yes.
Trustee Relaford.
Yes.
And myself, yes. The motion is adopted 7-0. May I continue?
I seek a motion and second from the board to move Resolution 11.10, custodial and maintenance contract, to the regular meeting on March 15th, 2023 for adoption.
Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
Support.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Trustee King and supported by Secretary Perkins. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I am seeking a motion to approve Resolution 11.10, custodial and maintenance contracts. When I call your name to adopt this resolution for approval, please say yes for approval and no for disapproval. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Assistant Secretary and Treasurer McIntyre.
No.
Trustee,
Just some confusion, are we approving this to move to the next meeting?
I'm sorry, you are correct. Move to the regular board of the whole meeting.
That's what the confusion was.
Yeah, so let me restate the
Thank
motion
you.
correctly. My apologies. The motion to move Resolution 11.10, custodial and maintenance contract to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. I'll start over. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Assistant Secretary and Treasurer McIntyre.
No.
Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
President Clack.
Yes.
Vice President King.
Yes.
Trustee Relaford.
Yes.
And myself, yes. The motion passes 6 yes, 1 no. Mr. Jones, you may continue.
I seek a motion and second from the board to move Resolution 11.11, lawn care and snow removal, to the regular meeting on March 15, 2023 for adoption.
So moved.
Support.
All right, it's been correctly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Trustee, I'm sorry. Point of information. Do you want to be referred to as Trustee McIntyre, or you want the full title beneath your name? What's better for you?
Trustee's fine.
Okay, Trustee McIntyre.
Do we have the contract? Because I see one from 2021, 2019. What's up? I can't follow this.
So this was the last contract I had on file for them.
Okay, so what are we approving or moving
For
forward?
snow and lawn care, so it'd
Right.
be snow of 2023, because we're in 2023, and then.
Right, but where is it? What?
Your contract.
What are we moving forward? This is these are two old contracts. Where's the one that we're moving forward?
This is the last one I had, so we can take it next month if you
I'm
want.
like,
I'm
well, then what are we
bringing them
moving
90 days in advance to make sure. I don't.
Mr.
So,
Jones?
This was an RFP.
It was last year. And
Okay,
these were.
and so it was approved last year, but the board has asked that we continue to bring contracts back. So we didn't send this back out for an RFP, we're just bringing them back for
So
renewal.
I can remember, we specifically requested to RFP this process.
It was RFP'd back in, if I can get my computer and get the dates, because I have them in my computer. Do you want me to?
So it was RFP.
It was RFP'd last year.
Mm-hmm.
It was renewed last year. Ace was the winner, because when we put this out, we purposely went out and we put it out as snow and lawn, but you could bid on either or.
Okay.
Or both, because we wanted to make sure we could capture as many people out there, because if you could offer snow but not
Okay.
lawn, the whole 9 yards. So they did win the contract last year for both areas.
But I remember that there was like some dissatisfaction and a point of contention with this, and that we were talking about like needing to look at it again this year.
I was not aware of that, so I apologize. I was not aware of that in any capacity.
So, I mean, I guess I'm confused about what exactly it is we're moving forward, besides just rubber stamping these contracts, which we've said we need to be more mindful about, and we need to be looking at each individual contract, especially with the new board moving forward, because we had a pretty dysfunctional board around that time last year, and stuff got approved that shouldn't have been, and moved forward just for sheer expediency's sake, just to keep the district running. So I'm not going to move this forward until we do more due diligence about this company, this process, this RFP, because frankly, things that were done last year really need to be looked at closely and improved upon. So I'm not comfortable at this stage in the game with just rubber stamping this forward.
Did we do any, and I'm speaking to you, did we do any changes in the RFP process?
I mean, other than this time when we bid this out last year, I want to say it was like May, June, July timeframe. It was in that quarter.
I'm asking you, is the RFP process the same?
The only thing we changed from the last time we did it to this one was that we opened it so they could bid on either or, so that I could pull in more, and that if we needed to award to snow for this person, lawn for this, that was the only change.
Right. And
But
so the
nothing else
reason
has
why you're
changed.
bringing this back to the board right now is, what
It's
is the reason for
annual.
that?
This is our annual review for these contracts, and we've been asked to bring these forward 60 days in advance. So not only am I bringing it 60 days in advance from when I'm going to present my budget, this is honestly for the snow of next year and spring of the following year. So we're looking at next fiscal year. So I was being proactive in bringing this, but I have not heard that this
Yeah.
needed to go back out.
So just for point of information for the new board members, like this process is very flawed and it has tended to just get rubber stamped over and over and over again through the years, through the different board compositions, through the different superintendents. And I think this is an area that we could really do due diligence and, you know, tighten up and do some good board work by making sure that these are the best contracts for our district and for the needs of our district. So I would just request that perhaps we could do some of those workshops. We've got so many contracts that are coming up, and they just haven't had the investigation or the look into them. And you know, your new board members, this is your opportunity to really fix some of the wrongs that have been.
Yeah, 1 second, Trustee King. So what I hear from my colleague is there's an opportunity to improve the policy and process for how we do this. And I think that's a great step forward to really address and see how we can make it better. But that's my only comment to that. You can go ahead.
So these some good, I'm thinking, no, this is good conversation. Could we have, you know, when we have that finance special meeting, committee of the whole meeting, we can talk about contracts, whether it's, I'm being, you know, brainstorming here, whether all the contract vendors we have in this district, we receive the contracts for them. I mean, I like electronics, so we don't waste all the paper, but we can receive all the contracts for those. We have that, let's say, a week and a half or 2 weeks in advance. We try to schedule the meeting ahead of time to give you time to prepare all those contracts. You send them to us. That can be a portion of the finance meeting, committee of the whole, and we can review those and digest our minds, ask our questions, and do that. So that's something I would, you know, ask that we do, Treasurer Loon. I think it'll be up to you and Dr. Wolf to discuss like what that will look like. But that's something I think we all need to be aware of, what that process looks like with all inputs, with Trustee McIntyre, input with the contracts. I can understand that, but I need to understand all things as well. But to me, this is long as snow.
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll connect with Mrs. Beard and see what our schedules are looking like the next few weeks and see if we can get something on the calendar that we all can make. And from there, we can try to get some dates out.
Thank
Sound
you.
good?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, Trustee Relaford.
Trustee McIntyre, thank you for that. And not having a contract, you can't do anything without a contract. And that is why I'm so hesitant on a lot of my decisions, because I don't have it in front of me. And if I don't have it, I can't make a decision. And with this administration, I have made a decision and it didn't work. So now I'm second guessing everything. Because if I don't have good data, I can't make a good decision. And if I don't have the information, I'm not gonna make a decision. And I just want you all to hear that. We can make or break this district with our decisions, and I want us to make this district. So if it's as simple as doing a little extra, let's do a little extra. But coming before us without a contract, that's not extra. That's trying to push something through, and it makes you wonder what's really missing. Not saying you, okay? That's not on you. Okay, thank you.
All right, so trustee McNeil and then trustee King.
Thank you, trustee McIntyre. I believe we was requesting, when each contract comes up, my understanding that we're supposed to get copies of them or look at those contracts, and they was pulled at one time, am I correct? So we can know who these contractors are? Because before, we was just given that spreadsheet when they expire and all of that. And I think a conversation came up that we would like to look at these contracts and have that opportunity. And like my colleagues are saying, this can't be done here, but it can be done. And Trustee Rutherford and McIntyre is right. We got to start looking at these contracts. We've been kind of pushing it through, but I think we have a functional board now where we can sit down and make these logical decisions. So this is not something of urgency, right?
Well, I would ask the question, was the RFP last year a 2-year, 1-year, 3-year RFP?
Right.
What was it?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but it typically, when we push these out, are 3 years. Initial and 2 renewals annually. And then the third year we go back out. So in year 3, you go back out and you're reassessing what's in the market to look at what's out there.
So would we have a different contract from the initial RFP this year? Would we have one?
Good question.
Not, I don't.
No. You would have the contract as it was let 1 year ago, and like you said, you'd have a renewable option period, and then you could move forward from that to take it for option year 1 or option year 2 is how it was based on how the RFP was let. Because it's my understanding they did it for 3 years. Now, that's what I recall. So it was with it was a 1-year contract with a 2-year optional renewal. That's what I recall. But I'm new.
Trustee King.
In our board book, under lawn and snow PDF and attachment documents, it is here, the contract here, the term says, the term of the agreement shall commence November 1st, 2019, and shall continue through March 31st, 2020, subject to the potential for 2 extensions of 1 year each in the district's sole discretion provided in the section 1.2 thereof. So you put it out for 3 years and just contingent upon, and when you go back up, it says renewal of agreement, right? I think I read that right. Yeah, something like to that effect.
Yeah.
It's basically.
So the year 3 would be when I'm, in year 2, I'm going out for year 3. So we're
Right.
making that decision at that point.
Got you, okay.
We're
So
reassessing the market and where we are and what we need.
I see you. Thank you.
Mr. Jones, go ahead.
What year is this of the contract?
2.
Okay.
This would be the second renewal.
Of the contract
Of
that
the
was
cert-
RFP last year?
Yeah.
Correct.
So-
Last year was
so
year
there
1.
wouldn't be a document that would be different than what we received at the RFP time that was
Correct.
approved by the previous board?
Correct.
And
Okay.
this document, it says independent contractor agreement between Flint Community Schools and Ace Outdoor Service in our board packet. That's the contract, right? Okay. So I guess what I can do to make things easier for my colleague is, when I get this from Dr. Wolf, when she shares it for FINOP, I can just share it out, so there's more time to review and ask questions, and then come to her with questions that you have, are whatever makes the most sense.
Sound good.
Any further questions or discussions?
I need yes, I'm sorry.
Trustee Rutherford, go
I
ahead.
just need clarification. If this started in 2019, 3 years is 2022. Are we in 2023? I'm just trying to make help me. Help me, because it sounds like to me we don't have a contract.
We don't.
Because if it's annually, that means you're going to re-sign a contract to do an extension, something. I mean, am I missing, I just need clarification on that.
So I do have
Be-
clarification.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you.
This
but-
is
Go ahead, Dr. Martin.
exactly my point. This is what we're dealing with. Band-Aid on Band-Aid on Band-Aid on Band-Aid.
Okay.
And so we've just got to like rip the whole thing off and start over. Because there's a lot of holes in here. And how many contracts
would you say that we have to basically look at?
I don't have the contract list in front of me.
I
I
mean,
know,
are you
I follow my own.
Yeah.
That yellow sheet
So
that
just
up
to
there.
warn the rest of the board members, we're all like, oh yeah, this is great, this is our opportunity, a chance to do a deep dive. I'm warning you, there's dozens, a lot of contracts. And they are, because of the state of rubber stamping this over and over and over again, we are going to be at ground zero for every single one of them if we really want to do due diligence and do this right. There's a lot of sloppiness and gravy being spilled all over with things. And I think Trustee Relaford is absolutely right. What on earth is this? You know what I mean? Like, you're not wrong that you can't figure it out, that you can't, that you're confused because, and it's no reflection of the administration, of the workers. This is a district that we've been operating like with the wheels falling off. So, but like I said, if we're willing, if you want to roll up your sleeves and do the work, I'm there. I'm willing to do it, but I'm warning you, like there's a lot of contracts that are going to be coming up and we have to be on it.
Secretary Perkins, go ahead.
Well, being new on the board, I would actually like to, I'm gonna go with the girls here, because I would definitely like to see what it is we're doing. And I want to know too, if there was something really outlandish that did not happen correctly that would make Trustee McIntyre question what's going on with this particular item. And I don't want to just rubber stamp anything. I would like to make positive changes where we need to. And if we have to go through every one of the contracts, I don't have an issue with it. Let's do the workshop and let's get it done.
Yeah, and
That's our job.
I could be wrong, but I mean, it's my understanding that we make the policy that they follow as the administration, so it's really our duty to correct this.
It
or else
is.
it's going to be time after time again where it's not as tight as it can be. With that, Trustee King, you had a question?
Yeah. I'm not gonna belabor this.
Okay.
I would just anticipate having that finance committee of the whole,
Yeah, we'll
where
get
we
on
have that constructive work that we're talking about, actually do the work to allow the community to see what we're doing, the district employees to see what you're doing. As we're all new, we educate us, we're educating the community and the district at the same time. But I understand this. So I'm gonna vote yes on this. I understand it. That's it for me.
Is there any further discussion?
I have one thing.
Mr. Jones, go ahead.
What happens if they don't vote it?
In winter?
What happens if the board votes it down? Like, if the board has questions like they do, which is legit,
Absolutely.
I'm not arguing that. And I'm not really hearing that we can explain why there is information from 2019, and we just did an RFP last year. I'm not hearing what that explanation is. Nobody's saying anything. So the board is right with that. So I'm trying to make sure we're not putting ourselves in a deeper hole. So I'm asking you to speak up about what it is that will happen if we don't do this contract, because it's still snowing.
Can I rephrase that, Mr.
So
Jones?
I do want to
Yes.
emphasize, this contract is for next winter, so November of it'd be next school year. So
Okay.
I'm coming extremely early because I'm coming 60 days in advance of what I would bring for my board amendment for 23-24 school year.
Okay.
So this is 23-24 school year. So we have time to answer any questions they may have on this. So I was being proactive by bringing it early. But what does happen is if this continues to be tabled, at some point, we won't have lawn and snow care for
Yeah,
next
and-
fiscal year.
And I was going to say, what are the consequences of us not approving it tonight? Because if possible, could we postpone this to the regular board meeting for a final approval, or is that not allowed?
I mean, if you,
I would,
There seems to be a lot of questions. I'd rather have it be postponed a week than postponed a whole nother month.
so,
Trustee
Just a
McIntyre.
point of information, so this process is actually a lot better than it used to be, too. I mean, even though it's a mess that you see before you, we have Dr. Wolf pulling it much more in advance than it used to be. It used to be that you would have something that was going to expire in a week. And it was like, okay, you guys need to pass this, otherwise, you know, we're not going to have snow removal, period. And that's it, it's the end of the world. We at least change the culture a little bit to move it forward so that we've got now a year to look at these contracts. Like I said, it used to just be, you know, we were basically like blackmailed into like renewing these contracts. We do have the time. It is of urgency, like Superintendent Jones said. So I don't want to say that we're like kicking the can down the road or that this is a punitive thing. We're trying to make it better, not to you know, to negate and deny everything and say no, 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 no. This is to fix it so that it works, as opposed to just, you know, a blanket veto.
I have a comment quickly, Trustee McNeil. From what it sounds like is we need to address the policy and ongoing process. The sooner the better. For me personally, I wouldn't want to put this item in hostage because of our poor policy that we've had as a board, but I would hope that we can move this today to the regular board meeting next Wednesday. Trustee McNeil.
So I guess I want to be clear, you guys want to try to move this to the regular board meeting, but at the same time, I hear what you're saying, Trustee Luna, is that we need to really dive into this. I don't want us to overpack ourselves for the month of March because so much is going on for us we have to do in March.
Yeah.
So you saying that we have a grace period on this particular item. So I would like for us to pick a good time where we can spend some quality time. It's not going to happen in a workshop, one meeting, because we got, am I correct? It probably
might, I mean.
It might and it might not, but I would just like that we look at that if it's not in an urgency, that we take our time, because this is something that I've been wanting to dive into and get these contracts and get a clear understanding. Don't just think it because it's new board members. I want to learn myself because I didn't get an opportunity the last couple of years. So, and I really want to get a good handle on it.
All right, so I think there's been a decent amount of debate and questions on this motion. The motion on the floor has been moved and supported. I'm going to call the roll call without objection.
And that's to move it.
I need the objection, I'm sorry.
Trustee Rutherford.
Is there a contract, yes or no? If there's no contract, how are we going to approve? One of the worst things you can do is approve a contract and you don't know what's in it. Period. There's no way we all can approve anything and you don't know what's in it. That right there is just poor business practices. Bring a contract, then we can talk about it. Until then, we should not be discussing, passing anything. You don't know what's in it. You don't know what's in it, because you don't have a contract.
Trustee
You
Perkins.
don't have a
But
contract.
why don't we just table it for right now, since we got the grace period?
So I want to, hold on. I want to remind my colleagues that there's a motion on the floor. It's been properly moved and seconded. If there's an amendment to postpone it, table it, do whatever, it's not been made.
Mr. Chair,
Trustee King.
in board book, lawn and snow, the terms of agreement, the contract is here. Article 1, Article 2, Article 3 is all here. It says terms of agreement. Everything is right there. And you just said you put it out for 3 years, the whole way. The contract is here. It's in board book. It's there. All the terms and conditions of it. I'm just not understanding where there is no contract. The contract is here. This is a renewal, basically, was what you're saying, because they've been there.
It's the dates, and it isn't in our packet.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm clear that reading what the terms of agreement had said, the renewal I just read before.
Okay.
But subject potential 2 extensions for 1 year each. It's right there, so.
I don't want to speak on the administration's behalf, but it's.
I'm gonna just say, Mr. Chair, we need an amendment to table this, right?
I just said that, so.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna make amendment to table this discussion to back to Finance Subcommittee.
Support.
Okay, there's been a motion and proper support to send this back to Finance and Operations. Is there any discussion on that amendment? Okay, seeing no discussion, when I call your name, please say yes to send it back to Finance and Operations or no to not. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre.
To table it and send it back to committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
President Clack.
No.
Trustee King.
No?
Trustee Rutherford.
Yes.
Myself, no. The motion passes 4-3 to move back to finance. All right. Mr. Jones, could you please continue?
Sure. Thank you. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 11.12, student transportation busing to the regular meeting on March 15th for adoption.
So moved.
All right, it's improperly moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Trustee McNeil.
Trustee alluding to Mr. Jones, Superintendent Jones. In this contract, remember, we was, I might be a little ahead, that we was going to try to look at extending the service beyond the destination that the buses goes, because that's one of the problems that we're having with our bus transportation stop at a certain point, and that we were going to extend it where we can pick up more kids. Was that in this contract, or that's something we're working on after renovation?
So I think it's going to be something, Dr. Joyce, that we discuss together when we talk about finance, because that's going to be an extra expense.
Yes, it will be, yeah.
And so it's not in this contract, because I think it's a conversation that we all need to have. Okay.
And that's something we can put on the agenda, the problem with transportation, if they might can go at the stop sign at Averill and Center, but they can't, there may be 20 kids on the other side, but their contract doesn't allow them to pick them up, so somebody else take those kids and take them to another school. So we're looking at expanding the district, how far the bus would go to pick up children. I don't like to see
I hear you.
certain school come down my block and taking our kids out of my community and taking them to Grand Blanc, because we don't have the service. So that's something we can talk about in finance.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to have a robust finance committee meeting, but I do know we're going to be out of town for that, so we have to reschedule
Yeah,
that
so that's
at
why I
some
said we
point.
can't pack everything.
So, is there any further discussion on 11.2? Going once, going twice? Okay, seeing no further. Oops.
11.2 or 11?
I'm sorry, 11.12.
12,
Resolution
okay.
11.12.
Okay.
Student transportation busing. Thank you for that. Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move Resolution 11.12, thank you, student transportation busing to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre.
Yes.
Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
President Clack.
Yes.
Vice President Kling.
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford.
Yes.
And myself, yes. The motion passes 7-0. All right. Please continue, Mr. Jones.
I'd like to ask Mr. Henderson to give you the information regarding parking lots.
Mr. Henderson, go ahead.
So just a quick update on the, excuse me, on the parking lots. We opened the bids late last week, and we are reviewing and validating those bids right now to make sure that they're all potentially good bidders. And we're around a $3 million mark for the construction coming forward for the parking lots to do everything that needs to be done. But we're still not ready to submit to the board for approval, but that gives you a rough informational item as to where we are at this point. And we'll come forward next month with going through subcommittee and everything else as to where we exactly are with those bids and the construction manager on that.
Okay, cool. That sounds great to me. One second, Trustee King.
Okay.
Between now and that meeting, for me, it'd be helpful if you got maybe like a one-page of bullet points about where we're at, numbers, and just how it looks like. I mean, I know I've been getting a lot of questions about, how the parking, paving, and lighting is done together, and just like some of maybe the underground wiring, how that looks like. So any information like that helps me make a yes vote a whole lot more easier than, than not.
Okay,
Thank you. Trustee King, go
not a
ahead.
problem.
Nope, that was enough. That's what I
Okay. And it's easier. I mean, we're elected officials. If I have a deliverable, I can forward it and email it to people in the public, and they can look at it and then say, okay, this makes sense to me, and it makes this go a lot quicker. Trustee Rutherford.
Is there a timeline that you could provide on when construction will be at certain sites to kind of like let the families know?
I didn't hear your question.
Is there a timeline or a date where you could provide families where the parking lots will be worked on so that they can know, so the neighborhood could know there's going to be probably noise or something?
Yes, we'll lay out each parking lot for each building. We can lay out a timeline for that.
Is that a yes? What'd you say?
Are you looking for a hard date, as in what, before next subcommittee meeting?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was just asking, will the neighborhood know that there's going to be noise? Will they know?
Yes.
Will something go out to the parents so that they'll know that the
Yes.
parking lots will be worked on?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions from my colleagues? Any more questions from my colleagues? All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Jones, Dr. Wolf, Mr. Henderson. Seeing no further business, I declare the Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole adjourned at 8:07 p.m. I now turn the floor to President Clack for the Board Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda.
Okay, I will now call on Superintendent Jones to present action items to the board.
Give me a moment here, I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Did you say point of information? Oh, no, we, 21.14.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 21.14, expulsion of student, to the regular board meeting on March 15, 2023 for adoption.
So move.
Support.
Oh, my bad, I'm sorry. It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move Resolution 21.14, the expulsion of student, to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Secretary Perkins?
Yes.
Assistant Secretary McIntyre?
Yes.
Trustee McNeil?
Yes.
Vice President King?
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford?
Yes.
Treasurer Luna?
Yes.
Myself, President Clack, yes. So the motion passes by a vote of 7 yes to 0 no. Mr. Jones?
Yep, I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 21.15, expulsion of student, to the regular board meeting on March 15, 2023 for adoption.
Support.
Okay, it has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? No discussion? All right.
President Clack.
Yes.
I'll be quick. I know it's getting late.
Oh, sure.
And this is my understanding, so if someone wants to point information, I'm fine with that. But at that expulsion hearing, I felt like because of state statute, this board was put in a bind where we had to follow state law to expel these students, and it gave us no kind of space because we're following state law, where we could have done things that were beneficial for the students and for all the students involved. So I think it'd be nice for this body as a whole in the future to identify issues like that where we have no flexibility to really address this in a holistic kind of restorative way, and maybe pass a resolution to our local delegation who goes to Lansing to say, hey, this is a problem, it's putting more kids on the expulsion track, it needs to be corrected, especially with the new trifecta in Lansing, where the Democrats are more friendly towards more of these kinds of issues. So that's my only comment.
Any other discussion? You were first, Trustee McIntyre.
I agree with Trustee Luna. This is the school-to-prison pipeline system in work, and I've been frustrated for the 2 years I've been on the board that our hands are tied with the way that things are set up to just make our students fail. So I would agree that it would be super nice if, as a board, we were to write and, pass some kind of a resolution or at least some kind of a statement about where we stand about these practices, whether they're legal or not, and about how it affects Flint students in particular. I would be very much in support of that, and I think if we can advocate in Lansing, like you said, with the trifecta, maybe we can get some positive changes done and start pushing more towards restorative justice practice as opposed to punitive school-to-prison pipeline. So thank you for lifting that up, Treasurer Luna.
Okay. Trustee McNeil?
I'm fine. They both said what I wanted to say. Trustee Mayor, that's where I'm at. Thanks.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, seeing no further discussion, the motion to move Resolution 21.15, the expulsion of student, to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this action. Secretary Perkins?
Yes.
Assistant Secretary McIntyre?
Yes.
Trustee McNeil?
Yes.
Vice President King?
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford?
Yes.
Treasurer Luna?
Yes.
Myself, yes. So the motion passes by a vote of 7 yes to 0 no. Mr. Jones?
I seek a motion and a second from the board to move action item 21.16, Superintendent 6-month focus for FCS to the regular board meeting on March 15th, 2023 for adoption.
So move.
Support.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
I do have one comment.
Treasurer Luna?
So we got that board orientation binder a few months ago, a month and a half, whatever it was. And it was nice to see, the strategic plan, but in the interim, it was helpful for me to just see what are the tactical steps towards achieving that long-term strategic goal. So this is helpful. It's not perfect, but it's really helpful. I think it's a lot of good stuff in here. And for me personally, I think this is a good step and a good deliverable for partners who want to support our students, whether it be through programming, funding, folks who want to mentor kids. It just gives us a better kind of GPS to that longer strategic vision that we guys approved last year. So it's helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, seeing no further discussion, the motion to move action item 21.16, Superintendent's 6-month focus for Flint Community Schools to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. So as I call,
Point of information, so what are we voting for? We're just, sorry,
No.
through the president to the superintendent, not that I'm not in support of this, but what are we passing exactly? Just
So,
that it's just an official statement and we're all supporting it? Or?
no.
Okay, I'm
So,
sorry.
in the statement that I have given you all, it speaks to, let me word myself correctly. It speaks to the fact that as the superintendent, I feel like we need to focus on specific items instead of focusing on all of the priorities that are coming to the table, because we are, as an administration, we're focused on too many things that are coming down the pipeline and being asked for us to do, where we're jack of all trades and a master of none. We're not moving the needle as well as we could at this moment. And so I'm asking for a refocus so that the items that I have shared on this document, an example, phase 2 of ESSER funds, we have $86 million to spend. In the bullets, I have outlined what we are currently working on with Clark Construction and Stantec. However, if we don't give attention to the things in this document and stay focused on these things, we're going to be spinning our wheels, and some of these things may not get completed. We need, not just the administration, but also the board focuses on these items. And as I stated here, if the board decides, hey, well, we need to focus on this, or we need to focus on that, and that's not in this focus document, then being able to have discussion about that is important. But we are focused on, while we're managing the everyday duties of the district and the operations of the district, currently, the administration is receiving a lot of asks and priorities from different board members. And it's too much to not be focused on a few important items, high priorities. They're all priorities, as I stated in the document. Everyone's priorities matter, but we can't focus on everything at the same time. We have to have a true focus on things that are going to move the needle and put us in a position to have a future for this district. One of the items in there is the opportunity for the superintendent to bring a plan to the board for a sustainable future for the next 5 to 10 years. That's going to be a lot of work. And so I can't focus on 10 other items when I need to take the time and talk to consultants and talk to experts and talk to you about a sustainable future and what that's going to look like. And so I'm asking the board to let's focus on these items that's on this document for the next 6 months. That doesn't mean we're not going to operate the district. That doesn't mean we're going to take a focus off of the things that keeps us moving as a district. But this is our big focus items for the next 6 months so that we can move the needle. That's what this is.
Practically speaking, what does it mean on a day-by-day basis? Like, I mean, this is great, right? We have a focus, but what does that mean
That means
for
I am,
action?
okay, so
What
that,
are your asks?
that our focus be on these things
Okay.
as a board team,
Okay.
along with the superintendent, our focus be on these things so we can move the needle. That's what I'm asking. And let's take the priorities the other priorities and say, okay, let's make a plan for those after 6 months and hit those as well. But I'm asking the board, let's settle on something, let's focus on something, and all of our communications should be around this work. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you for the clarification. Sorry about that.
I know that was wordy, but I'm sorry.
No,
It
no,
just-
no.
Trustee McNeil.
I would like to support this, and I want to caution our board. The north end of Flint, if we lose those kids, and we got other districts competing with us, and here we are, we passed this 86 million almost a year ago. Nothing has been done. We got to start moving forward with these ESSA fund money, getting our district, because we cannot afford to lose anything. We got Northwestern is in your strategic plan. Everything that he has in phase 2 is in the strategic plan, and I support this. We have not put one bucket of paint on in the classroom. We haven't done any renovation. The roofing, the kids need a roof over there on Burnell, parking lots. And we got to get focused, or we got to give this money back. And keep in mind, the biggest problem we had last year was the pandemic. We couldn't get supplies. We could not get the right people to come in. And you got a lot of schools competing for these same services. And we got to get in there and roll our sleeves up so we can start renovating these buildings. Furniture is coming in. We got to go over there and see what door rider look like. So it's a lot to do. It look like it's just a few bullet points, but we dropped the ball. The pandemic came through. We couldn't get supplies. We got a good Clark construction company that we have worked with to work with the community, getting some support. to get this done. I think if we just stay focused here, I was in a meeting today, all they was talking about, what are you guys gonna do? They're ready, they're eager to see what $86 million will look like in their district. So it's okay with me, I will support this. And it's in the strategic plan, I went step by step, everything is in here, is in the strategic plan. Well, we talked about, the Atwood,
Houston Stadium.
Stadium, yeah.
Houston.
Yeah, so there's a lot of good things in here that we had talked about, and I'm ready. I wish we could get that sports center in there.
Okay, Trustee Rutherford.
I guess, okay, thank you. I guess for me, I would like for the board to have a discussion with the superintendent as it relates to this, because maybe I missed it. If we don't have teachers, we don't have anything. And I don't see where the teachers that gave up the 19%, and I've been talking about this since I've been a board member, get restored. That has to be in here. So I'm just saying to the board members, he's our employee. So we all need to have a say-so in what this 6-year plan looks like. So all I'm just asking is, it's fine that he wrote it, but can we work with him on this? Because things have changed. Things have changed. One, you got one teacher at homes with 45 students, that she has had those 45 students since June. I mean, I'm sorry, since November of 2022. That's a problem. That's a problem that you got to address today. So when I see a 6-month plan, I want a 6-day plan. I really do, to where something is done in this district. This looks wonderful. I'm all for new schools. But the new schools ain't gonna help us if we don't have any teachers. And you still have the same problems in them new buildings. That beautiful building on 475 and Robert T. Long Way, it's just a building because everyone can't go.
That's right.
So that right there is setting a standard. And so you all can understand, it's not about a building, it's about giving our students what they need. And Superintendent Jones, with all due respect, sometimes you're gonna have to pivot. It's not what you want, it's what's needed for this district. And that's why we're here. We're here to make sure that happens, not then, but now. So when you all hear me object to something, it's because I know more than what I'm saying, and I've always said that. But I will let you do your job when you do your job. Everything falls on you, everything. So if you want to just do what you want, then do it. Let us see. Give us a reason. I'm only talking for me. Give me a reason to know you go keep your word. You go remove those 45 students from that one teacher. Give me your word. When is it? What does it look like? What do you need us to give you so that our scholars will stop feeling like they're irrelevant? And we can take this offline, but that's what I want from you. Thank you.
Okay.
Were you up?
No, you were next, and then Secretary Perkins.
I was just gonna say that there's so many moving pieces in this thing that I think all need to happen at once. And I'd rather take, I think I counted 8 bullet points. I'd rather you focus on 8 instead of like 30. 'Cause I mean, you talked about new schools here. You talked about ESSER funds being spent reasonably. You talked about addressing their issues with staff, whether it be, do you talk to the, to the teachers and how we can make them better compensated? It's all in here, but here's my issue. From my background, I work in business and economic development, and anyone knows that the market moves a lot quicker than government. Well, our students aren't individuals in the market, they're individuals in society, and society moves a lot quicker than government and the market. And what I mean by that is, as a body, this board, historically, not the last 2 years, but the last 20 years, has, in my opinion, gotten in the way of society, students, and student achievement. And I think this plan and us working together is a real opportunity to get out of the way, but also give our feedback, give our direction, and then check in to make sure what we set forth is being followed. And I think a big issue, for example, is just the vacancies in the district. I mean, we have north of, I believe, 80 vacancies I think it's 80, right, Mr. Jones?
We have over 90 vacancies.
So we have 90 vacancies in the district, right? And that's several things. Number one, we're an urban district. We have a lot of students who have different challenges than the suburban counterparts. Our buildings are not in good shape. At least most of them aren't. So we're asking students and teachers to work in these buildings. Oftentimes, over the last 15, 20 years, our board has gone back and forth. They've nitpicked, they've micromanaged, they've not read the board packet. It's an array of issues. So I just want to really push us as a body to really be more proactive and solution-driven on how we can help this become more successful, how we can make this strategic plan become more successful, because it's not just the administration or the teachers who are to blame. It's really the entire district and the leadership sometimes. Teachers are working hard every day, and they're not getting paid what they feel that they deserve, and that's an issue. I made $39,000 in 2014 as a first-year teacher in Detroit. That was 9 years ago, so I get it. But we have to do it responsibly. We have to close buildings. But also, I will say this, I don't want to invest money in 2 or 3 buildings that we're going to close in a year or two either. So I want to know more about that and how we can get that done and talked about as a board, working with the administration. And that's my comment.
Okay. Secretary Perkins?
I was just gonna say, I think we all, as the board, need to come together with the superintendent and do a deep dive into what he proposed and send out to all of us. I think it's time to really do that and get to the nitty-gritty, because time is far spent, and I do want to understand a whole lot of things after listening this evening to all the things that we have on the agenda. It's time. We need to stop talking about it and be about it. So let's just roll up our sleeves and get it done.
Vice President King?
I would say I am glad this is a form of us to refocus on current issues our district is facing. There's a range of things. Even when we look at number 8, the satisfaction survey to stakeholders from FCS surveys have all been through Community Education Foundation for FCS. I want to establish our own satisfaction survey for staff and families. When we talk about parent engagement, there are other districts that have apps on their phone. How do we communicate with parents? I mean, we have a younger generation of parents and we have an older generation that's caring. How do we transform, re-energize, renovate? Like, how do we do that vision? That's going to be up to us. I'm proposing that we do an app. Like, so we need some transformational things to attract students, to attract parents that want to, and retain parents, retain students in our district. This is good refocus for us. I mean, because to be honest, we have been everywhere. I'm just be honest with you. We have been everywhere. This is a good start for us to dive deep, do some transformational things for our scholars in our buildings. Even just walking through the buildings, I'm like, okay, this could be better. We have the table to make that happen. Let's do it. And I mean, Mr. Clark, I would just ask that even all the committee chairs that where this pertains to, we should make sure that that is a discussion in subcommittee so we can have that discussion, bring it to the full board, let's talk about it. Let's do, this is the good board work that the community have been asking for decades. Plus, like, this is an opportunity for us to transform this district. So I'm excited to approve this. I'm going to the next, the regular meeting, but this is some good work that we can do.
Trustee McNeil?
Thank you, Trustee King. And you're 100%. This is what the community, wherever I go, this is what they asking. And Mr. Johnson put the focus together. But I was interested, do we have an app where we can, do you know of an app that we can use, or Mr. Johnson, anybody that we can use to get that information? Because that was a question today. How can we communicate with the elderly and the other people doing their busy schedule besides trying to get to the website? Is there an app out there that we can use? I asked the young man because they know about all these different apps.
Yes, so I'm working with my partners in other school districts to ask what that looks like. So, for example, Beecher has an app, Flushing has an app, Kersley has an app. Like, these schools around Genesee County has an app. So I'm asking them, reaching out. That was still in the process of what that looks like for us.
We really would need that information.
And that would be a good conversation that we just shift over to our administration. how do we do that? You know, they can do, that's the how, you know, so, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jones?
Yes, I want to comment to a few things from one of our trustees. None of this work is about what Superintendent Jones wants to do solely. This is the strategic plan. And the academic, I wasn't going to read these, but I see that I have to now. Academic partnership agreement with MDE is something that we have no choice but to do. Plan for a sustainable future is something that this district has no choice but to do. The conversation with my foundation is something that this board voted 7-0 for us to continue to do. Staffing, which includes, as it was stated, there is nothing in here. On the first bullet, it says, I simply need to know from the board, are we opening or not opening the teacher's contract for salaries? If we are going to do this, allow me and my team to handle this work with the UTF. This is not going away. I will then bring information to you along with the lead negotiator, Tim Gardner, at the appropriate time. To state that I have nothing in there about the teachers is just certainly not true. Board superintendent and administration communications. We have to work on that. We have several issues. I've had, for the last 2 years, several different presidents and drop-offs in this board. We have not been able to establish a consistent positive climate and culture between the superintendent and the board and the administration. We're supposed to be a team. Continue work and completion of the renovations approved in 2022. That's parking lots, furniture, Doyle Ryder, Potter renovations, and a satisfaction survey to stakeholders. If that's not asking to do what has been stated from our staff, from our community, and from this board, and the strategic plan, I don't know what else is it that I can say. So that's my statement. And I thought I made myself very clear in this proposal. And so that's my statement. And this is not about what I want to do. I do want to do it, but this is about following the strategic plan. And we are not perfect. And I stated that in this document. But we are trying our best to do what is best for this entire district with your support. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Treasurer Luna?
Real quick, I mean, when I read this, what this sounds like is at some point during this academic year or calendar year, I think it'd be an opportunity for you to present to this board and the community in some kind of like state of the district presentation about not only the strategic plan, but what we've told you to do as a board and how you're gonna get it done, you and your team. And I think that's good for the district and its excitement. It gives us optimism, and it lets everyone know that we have a plan that we've passed or the previous board started, but how you're gonna get there. I think it'd be very exciting.
Okay, any more discussion? Trustee Rutherford?
I'd like to thank you, Superintendent Jones, for that clarification. But are there any of your priorities that you could put on the back burner to address what I had shared with you in regards to the 19% teachers? From my understanding, that was agreed upon, and that in that agreement, it was agreed upon that the district will repay them. So if that was agreed upon in the district, that the district will repay that money, there's no need to open up anything because that was already agreed upon in 2014. So you don't need to open up a contract because that was already agreed upon that they will be restored. Now, if you don't have that information, we could table it, but thank you for that clarification.
To quickly answer that, I can't really talk about that information in this setting, but a demand to reopen has been sent to this board. it is going to have to be a reopen of the negotiations of the contract. That's what's given to this board, is a demand. That's all I can really say about that.
Okay, any more discussion? Treasurer Luna, you're good?
Good.
Any more discussion? Okay, seeing no further discussion, the motion to move action item 21.16, Superintendent's 6-month focus for the Flint Community Schools, to regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Assistant Secretary McIntyre.
Yes.
Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
Vice President King.
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford.
Yes?
Treasurer Luna.
Yes.
Myself, President Clack, yes. The motion passes by a vote of 7 yes, 0 no. Superintendent Jones, please proceed with the information items regarding the status on the sale of properties, socio-emotional education practices, and the hiring of district lobbyists.
So, I didn't bring that particular item to this board meeting, so I don't know what it is you're
Yeah.
asking me that we wouldn't ask Mr. Gordon Van Wieren from Troon. I didn't bring that item, so I don't know exactly what the
Yeah,
ask is
I
with that.
I
Treasurer Luna.
requested these items, if I can speak on it.
Go ahead.
I requested 22.1 and 22.3. When it comes to 22.1, you know, we've been getting, at least me, verbal, written, all kinds of communications about our properties and, you know, what's the status on the bidding. I just mentioned these two because I heard multiple about these two properties, so the reason I requested them on the agenda is just to make a point that says we need to get this process going again, whether it's like, look, we make a better process with an RFP and we send those folks $100 deposit back and make a better one, or if we just work off the old one, which I don't think is a good idea, or do something, because every day that we don't act on these properties, they become more deteriorated. There's more chance for arson, for break-in, for someone to get hurt, and then we get sued. So that's my only point, is saying, look, I got two properties that have been sought after. Let's move on this. I'd be more than happy to bring a motion at the next regular board meeting about it in more detail, but that was my only point. When it comes to 22.3, I think there's a big opportunity for our district to hire some representation in Lansing to advocate for more issues for our students. So I'll name a couple, right? Number one, we need more money to do a lot of things, but in particular, to do capital improvements on our buildings. I know ESSER is a lot of money we got for ESSER, but there's a lot of restrictions when it comes to that and what kind of improvements we can make to our buildings, right? I think we could leverage money from the state if we had a lobbyist at the state level. Another one is just policy. I mean, there's so many rules that govern how our teachers deliver instruction, or that governs how long-term subs operate within the classroom. Like one, for example, is every 90 days, a long-term sub has to be switched out from the classroom and placed somewhere else. That disrupts educational instruction, that disrupts classroom culture. So I just think that if you had somebody in Lansing who knew our priorities specifically, we could get more money for our students, for our teachers, for our district, and also affect policies that improve their outcomes. And that's it.
Trustee Rutherford.
As it relates to, thank you, President Clack. As it relates to all the properties, I was challenged with the question of, with the appraisals, was it ever an option to just get an appraisal of the land and the building and put a sale for sale sign on some of the properties and then do RFPs or bids on others? Was that ever part of that with all of the properties?
Mr. Van Wieren had not gotten back with us from the last conversation he had with the board, but yes, he did say sitting here that yes, that is a possibility when you brought that up, because that was a great find that, hey, maybe we can just give up a portion of the land with the building on it and not the whole thing, but we haven't received anything back from Mr. Van Weeren on that particular subject.
Okay, all right, thank you. I just wanted to know that.
Yeah.
Vice President King.
I would say that we need to start the talk of, letting some of the properties, selling of some of these properties. This is, to me, I forgot, it's 40 plus. I know it's 40 plus properties that Flint Community Schools own based off the document that we received. Our buildings are not the best that's inhabited right now, the 11, including the admin building, but the 30 plus are terrible. Our community has been hollering about, why are we sitting letting these buildings just crumble, and we haven't done nothing about them. This is tacking on insurance, the taxes we pay, this is money that we're spending for 30 plus properties that we don't need. I'm not saying you sell them all. I'm not saying that, nope. I'm saying we need to get rid of, I'm sorry, let me use my terminology correct, sell some of the properties that we have, whether it's taking trustee Rutherford's point of doing the building, keeping some of the land, but we also need to think about what we're gonna use the land for. If we tearing down the building, okay, are we gonna put a park there? Are we gonna put something there to be, reuseful for the community? Like we talk about the north side. If we tear something down on the north side, okay, let's make it an honorary memorial park or something like that for that school. You do something creative like that, but we need to have that conversation because right now, we slumlords. It is ridiculous how many buildings that we have, seeing how listed this have not been getting done. So I would just, tell my colleagues, it's incumbent upon us to make a lot of poor practices that's been done for decades. We won't fix it in a day. The statement, Rome was not built in a day, yes. We need to start that conversation and give direction to the law firm that's handling this because people are in limbo like, okay, am I buying this property or am I not? And they're waiting on us. This has been a long time. I keep getting calls, but what y'all gonna do about this building? This building's sitting here. Oh, they just cleaned it up. I forgot. I think it was Brian. I forgot what school that someone just cleaned up.
Can we clean this property up, and that's a good thing, but then they're gonna clean it up and they get hurt, and then
True.
we get sued.
So my ask of our board is to have that discussion. Whether that's a special meeting, we need to do that work. When we talk about work, this is a liability that we keep doing because some kids keep going in the building, starting fires. You got some, people that don't have homes living in these buildings. I see it every time. We started on Washington. That's good. Great start. We got to keep focusing, but we need to come up with a plan. Whether it's a plan that, we all have to talk about this plan. We need to start the discussion.
I just got a text from a lady, fire at McKinley, prime example. Let's
See,
get rid of it. At
there's-
least demolish it.
There's so many things that we need to talk about, but I would tell my colleagues right now at the table, I'm willing to host a special meeting, be at a special meeting to talk about properties because our community is tired of seeing these old abandoned properties not being taken care of inside, and it's becoming the effect on the community. I'm a part of a neighborhood group. I cleaned up Longfellow so many times. Mowed the grass, even Summerfield thing, I did all that constantly.
Me too.
This is ridiculous. So now, it's time for us to have a discussion. Not now, but I'm like I say, I'm willing to move my schedule around to host a special meeting to allow our community to see we're trying to help. Blight everyone know about blight. That's just my thing to my colleagues. We need to move on that ASAP. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Trustee McNeil.
So hearing and, let me turn this back on. I hear what everyone is saying, and I think I saw somewhere we discussed Washington and Central. I'm just wondering, and I would like to make a motion that we start somewhere, that we make a motion to tear down the Central property and Washington, using those funds out the general fund. Could we have that discussion? I would like to make a motion, or I take that back. I would like to make a discussion, and you're talking about using general funds to tear down Central and Washington, because those are one of our biggest two headaches. So we just having a discussion. I took the motion back, and could we have that discussion?
Mr. President,
Yeah, Treasurer Luna.
through you to my colleague, Trustee McNeil, my understanding is we already begun the process to begin demolishing Washington by seeking a competitive bid. And it's my understanding that too, that this board, last year, the previous iteration of the board tried to demolish tried to demolish Central, but that motion didn't advance. And I guess we could technically bring it up again, but
Point of order, point of information. It was not that it didn't, it was the bid, I think it's the contractor was the issue. It was the RFP process, not.
yeah. And I was I worded it such that it didn't fail, but I know it didn't advance. Hence, the school's still there. But I do think that because we have 5 new members, when it comes to discussing properties like that, like Northern, like Northwestern, these anchor properties, we have to have a larger discussion about what is salvageable and how we can leverage money for that. But I will say this, and not to belabor the point, it's my belief that because we have a new board, and that's all 7 of us, every time someone breaks into that building, or they try to light on fire, or someone gets hurt, or people drive by it, I think this body is complicit in that blight by inaction. And that's what I believe in, because we're the ones who make the decisions. We could be talking to partners, we could be asking folks in Lansing, DC for money to get it done, but we gotta do a couple things. We have to function as a board effectively. We have to let the superintendent and work with him to spend the money we got from Joe Biden, $150 million, and spend that effectively. And we have to make sure that if we're gonna ask for money, we have a plan in which to use it, whether it's renovations, new build, demolition, et cetera. But I'll reiterate, we're complicit, this body, in all those properties. We're the slumlords, not the superintendent, not the teacher, this board. He does what we say.
Vice President King.
I would, to Trustee McNeil's point, if there is nothing pressing on next week's agenda, could we just have that as a discussion item about where we at, getting updated a little bit based off what we know already? I mean, is that possible? I mean, Mr. Jones, is there anything that you know of next week that's, I mean, will we want the law firm? Yeah, we do need the law firm here to explain some of the things.
I would think that I would have to check to see if Mr. Van Wieren can be here, but I think that he can't be lost, you know, in that discussion. We would need to have that discussion with Troon
with him
in order for it to really be impactful, and you get information that you want from that.
Okay, so
And that's my opinion. I do think that.
I would say we put a request out to allow him to come back to the board meeting.
Well, I'm sorry.
Not next board meeting, but.
But there's 2 different things we're talking about here, so.
I wouldn't finish.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't finish that.
Okay, so.
I was saying for the larger picture. So I was
Gotcha.
getting to her point.
Okay.
I was getting to that. When it comes to Central, I don't think it's in our best interest to demolish all these buildings. Some of the buildings that we have probably could be rehabilitated. There's older buildings, let's say in Lansing. Those buildings are old, but they've been rehabilitated to look new. So I don't think demolishing is it for me right now, but there's ways that I think we need to start rehabilitating buildings if that's the move that, in our 6-month focus, in our potential partner, in supporting a new high school there, could we renovate half, I mean, renovate the whole thing, but keep the old structure a little bit. I mean, some Central Indians I hear from all the time. I have so many family members. Oh, you need to keep the historic part. Keep the historic part. Okay, great. That sounds good. Let's have that conversation. But tearing it down, whole room full of people. That's my school. So how can we salvage some of the history, but also bring it into the 21st century, going into 22nd century? So that's for me in my mind. I think that'd be a nice thing to do.
Yes.
To host that discussion. But that's where this kind of discussion will have to come from. What do we want to do with the properties? But Central, I won't say let's demolish it. I would think, hopefully, potential, we get our stuff together and make sure that, our potential partner, we can, renovate that school, save historic part, and also, build a new.
Like a hybrid approach?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I just finish?
You
Oh,
have to-
I was gonna finish.
Okay, then you have to.
I appreciate what you're saying, and that's exactly what I'm saying as well. The community has spoken very well. They want to save some of that historical, and that's when your engineering and your architecture come in place. And they have to make that decision. Could we hold on to little pieces of that? But in our plans, it always have been that will be where the new high school is at. And we had that discussion. If we can tear it down, you get more support once you get the building off, get it out of the way, keep people from tearing it up and doing worse. But at the same time, that's something Mr. Jones can share. But the funds is there in the general funds as well, probably to get that done. But as you said, having that conversation where we can hold on to some of those artifacts.
Trustee McIntyre.
Yeah, this is a really important conversation. But to reiterate, you can't, there's three aspects of wealth: land, labor, and capital. And we have the land and we have some aspects of capital. If we're just going to offload properties, we're just kind of giving away our resources and our investment and our wealth. That doesn't make sense. I don't understand why we would be quick to squander our wealth in that way. There's just a misnotion about economics that, you know, something has to be used in order for it to have value, and I would just disagree with that. These are our public assets, our public resources, and I'm just really reticent, as you all know, to just kind of hand them over or to give them away, like we've done with a lot of our public resources, you know, in the city over the years. And you can't be a slum landlord if you're a public school. Like, that's a misnomer. Like, you're totally misusing the words. That's not what that means. Because we are a democracy, we're a school system, we're not exploiting anyone and charging rent for something and taking advantage of anybody. This is our wealth, these are our assets, and we're not about to privatize them and give them away so they can be turned into charter schools. Tragically, Central, I would love the idea of maintaining the facades of our beautiful schools. We have some beautiful infrastructure of rehabbing or rehabilitating, you know, anything that we can. That would be lovely. But unfortunately, we have been put in a position by design where a lot of these buildings were just abandoned systematically and on purpose. When Central was shut down, and I've said this before, literally the doors were left open. Everything was left inside, from student paperwork to lockers to machinery to equipment to furniture to books. That was by design. That was on purpose. And whether we like it or not, that building is, I really hope it's not past the point of no repair, but I think that it is. I would love for it to be, you know, back to its glory days, but we have to look at what happened over the past couple of decades. By design, we had that taken, that was stolen from us. That was taken from us as a public, as a public, and we have to stop the bleed. We have to stop this from continuing to happen. So if we have to cut our losses, I would be heartbroken personally, because I loved Central. I loved Whittier. That property is amazing with the buildings, but we've had some bad actors doing some very bad things over the decades, and we might be past the point of no return. That would be unfortunate, but that's where we're at. If somebody leaves the building doors open and walks away and lets it rot and fall to the ground, you know, that's in the past. We've got to move forward. We've got to save the district where it is now, and that's not by squandering our wealth and just giving it away to the lowest bidder. especially when it's going to be taken and repurposed in a way that's going to continue to bleed from our district. So I really welcome these discussions. I would like for us to retain our property, our wealth. You know, I think Trustee Relaford is right. Let's get some of these assessments, figure out exactly what it is that we have, because I think we've been lowballed in terms of where the properties have been assessed at. And we need to make clear, we have decrepit buildings, and we have millions of dollars of unbonded land. And just because a building is on there that's crumbling and falling apart doesn't mean that the land's not valuable. And you've got some people out there, this is a land grab. This is colonialism 2.0, where people are coming in and trying to take away public assets yet once again. And I am not going to let that happen.
Mr. President.
Vice President King.
To our community, if I use the wrong word of slum landlord, I apologize, but my meaning of what a slumlord is to me is a bad owner that's not taking care of their property. Flint Community Schools own 40-plus properties, and you can tell by, I want to make sure I'm making myself clear. Our properties that we own are contributing to blight, liability, and cost of this district. When we talk about making this district whole, I'm not saying we just sell off everything. I'm not saying that. However, what I'm saying is we need to make operational cuts. Operational cuts is building closures that's selling some property. I just want the community to understand what I'm saying. We're contributing to the blight that we complain about day by day. Around the corner from me, that Longfellow is right there. I see it every time. I clean it up. I understand it, but we have not done nothing for decades. We cannot keep doing the same thing over and over again. Yes, I can understand generational wealth. Yes, I can understand keeping, our wealth. But at what cost to our scholars that we won't have a school district just because we maintain the properties? We're going to keep contributing to blight? What does this solve? So I just want the community to understand, for me, we're bad owners at the moment. We have 42 plus properties that's terrible. We can do better, and we will do better, because we got extra funds that we can allocate to building renovations for the inhabited ones, and there's talk that we all agree that we're gonna have a conversation about what this meant for properties, but we talk about blight, we contribute the main thing to it. We can't expect our neighbors to, keep their lawn up if Flint Community Schools is not keeping their lawn up. Their buildings, up to code. I'm just saying, that's for me. That's just want the community to understand what I was saying by slum landlord and what I mean by my urgency of making sure that we sustain our district, not contribute to blight. We all talk about blight. I don't understand blight because I am literally cleaning up blight all the time. So that's my passion. So since I was 14 years old. So my urgency is making sure our Flint School District have a good reputation outside. Thank you.
Treasurer Luna.
Yeah, so first off, I want to just put this into context. When it comes to restoration's not just renovate every last square foot of a building. It can be demolition, partial renovation, partial new build. It can be a hybrid. One example is Central Station, Detroit, closed in 1988. That was 35 years ago. You drive by Michigan Avenue, it's by the highway. It's been burnt, broken in, graffitied, and this year, starting in 2023, that's going to be a center of economic growth when it comes to jobs, educational space for students, college students, professionals, and guess what? It's going to generate wealth for that district to pay for better schools, police, and fire. I disagree with you. We are slumlords, but in that case, I'll just change it around. This board is a bad neighbor to the dozens of neighborhoods where we have a school like Washington, or like Williams, or like Longfellow, which I'm pretty sure at least one of us, if not several of us, Ms. Perkins, Ms. Trustee Correa, we've mowed these lawns, we've picked up garbage by these buildings. They're not generating wealth. Like literally, generational wealth is when your assets, whether it be stocks, bonds, property, builds money for the next generation. These properties aren't generating any wealth for our students, their future, and they're not putting money into our district. I know my colleague left, and I respectfully disagree. We need to do something with this build. If we knock down a building and it becomes housing, and if we sell it, and guess what? Folks can move into those housing that's affordable, I'm cool with that. Because holding on to it, the past is the past. We had 185,000 folks who lived in the city of Flint. We have below 80,000. We had 70,000 GM jobs. We have about 8,000 in the county. Look at Buick City. Prime example.
Trustee McNeil.
Okay, thank you. I believe that Plant Moran, Mr. Jones, did an assessment on our buildings. Am I correct?
Correct. We have created a binder from last year for every board member, and we are going to make sure all the board members get them. They're done now and created. It's just a lot of information.
It's a lot, yeah.
It's a binder about this big. It's a lot of information from when we were doing finance call meetings and the feasibility studies, the information from Plant Moran, ESSER money and documents. So yes, we do have that, Dr. George.
Because in that document, it'll tell you why we do what we do and what it would cost for each building. But I do want to say this to my colleagues. When I worked on the master plan for the city of Flint, one of the things that I learned that investors, when they looking to build and move stuff, they're not looking to come tear down and build. You can get more if they don't have to come in and tear down and build. I just say that just to throw that out there. But we have to do something, and I think we need that Plant Moran assessment. Trustee Dillon, you're right, because, and Trustee Melody as well. Look at what that assessment says. And sometimes we might not get a second opinion as it relates to Northwestern. I believe we got the assessment on Central. And it's a deep, deep detail. And we pay, what, almost $65,000 for these assessments. So we might as well utilize them. But we got to move forward. With the ESSER fund, so we can't do nothing but renovate. And we're doing a great job. Dora to be ready in June. So all of this is good stuff, but like we said, we got to cut this short, move forward, put it in some type of, send it to some committee and workshop. The workshop works well because they come in and explain a lot, and we can see what we really need to do. But we've been on this a pretty long time.
Yeah.
I have a question. Are we paying insurance on all the vacant properties now? Okay, so is there a way that we can get the breakdown for how much the insurance is for each particular school and how much it is for occupied schools and unoccupied schools? Is that a way we can do that? You have that already?
You have that.
I have that.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Sorry. So I put I think it was 1180, 1190 requests for that exact thing, because when I asked last meeting, I wanted to see the 5
Right, that's
years.
what-
Yeah, you have that information, because you sent it to me through the 1190. Remember that?
I do now.
Remember the 1190 reform I requested?
I do
through?
remember that.
Yeah, okay. You have that, you shared it with me, but that'd be good for the information to,
To disperse
disseminate to the
everybody.
board.
Right.
That'd be great.
Thank you so much.
I know we can debate a lot of these hot button item issues when it comes to our vacant properties and Central and et cetera. So I'd make a motion that we just, we table 22.1 and go to 22.2 and 22.3.
Wait a minute, are we,
So just, I want us to move on from 22.1. It's only discussion, right?
I
State,
thought we had made a motion to move it, and we were in discussion to move it. Am I correct?
It's not an action item.
It's
It's
discussion.
it's just information, so there's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about the point, like, I just want to move forward, so that I want to talk about social emotional learning and also the lobbyist one.
Okay.
I think it's important that we do that.
That was me. I just
Trustee
want
Rutherford.
to ask, can we secure the properties? Like now, can we put fences around them in those big blocks? I mean, can we do that? Because they're unsecure. And then also, since there have been fires and vandalism, has the appraisal changed? Because what was done last year, because of, I think it's what's been 3 fires at Central in the last year. So if appraisal was done prior to that damage and the break-ins and just to continue vandalism, is that going to adjust the appraisal? And with us being bad landlords, that was one of the things we campaigned on, and that was securing all of our properties to prevent the dumping and being a part of the blight. So the question, so I guess I'm asking, in our discussion, because it's getting late, I would just ask that we talk about securing all of our properties, all of our empty vacant buildings throughout the city. That would be a good sign of being a good landlord.
A good neighbor.
Thank you, and a good neighbor. Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion?
I'm done.
Yeah.
Trustee McIntyre?
Yeah, so again, I just would like to reiterate that I mean, it's like Superintendent Jones said, you know, everything's urgent, but we've got to focus, and for me, I'd rather focus on the buildings with the kids in them, and this talk about putting up fences and securing properties and landlordship and blah, 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 blah. It's like, my priority is the students and their education.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, so seeing there's none, now I'll turn over the floor to Trustee Rutherford for the academics.
Is it me?
Yeah, academics committee of the whole portion of the agenda.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the hiring of the district lobby. Okay. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. It is, I would like to call the academic committee of the whole meeting to order. Uh-oh, it is, what time is it?
Too late? Oh.
It is 9:07 p.m. I would like to now call upon Superintendent Jones to present actions to the board.
Thank you, Trustee Rutherford.
You're welcome.
Right. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 25.6, authorization to purchase approved items from the amended consolidated application to the regular board meeting on March 15th, 2023 for adoption.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
could I make a motion to batch 25.6 through 25.9?
Yes. Is there a second?
Yeah. Second.
Oh, motion been made in second, so moved. Is, I guess we could do a vote. Is there a discussion? Move for a vote. Guess we could still go. Luna's went to the bathroom. When I call your name, it has been properly moved in second that we batch items 25.6, 25.7, and 25.8.
25.9.
And, 20, ooh, it's another one. Hold on, you all, I'm sorry. And 25.9. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion for this? We back. Seeing none, I'm going to do a roll call vote. When I call your name, please say yes in support or no. Treasury Luna?
Is this for batching the items?
This is for batching.
Yes.
Vice President King?
Yes.
President Clack?
Yes.
Trustee McNeil?
Yes.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre?
Yes.
Secretary Perkins?
Yes.
I myself, Melody Rutherford, votes yes. Motion is passed 7-0.
Point of order.
Go ahead. Mr.
So
King?
we voted to batch.
We voted to batch,
Now we just
yes.
got to vote to approve.
No, motion. Is there a motion
Yes,
to approve?
I will seek,
Oh, sorry.
yep, no problem. I will seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 25.6, 25.7, 25.8, and 25.9 to the regular meeting for adoption March 15th, 2023.
So moved.
There a second?
Second.
I think it was moved by Vice President King and second by President Clack. That has been properly moved in second. Is there any discussion? Seeing there's no discussion, the motion to move Resolution 2.6, 2.7, 2.8, 2.9, to,
Point of information,
sure.
it's 25.6.
Oh, 25.6.
25.7.
Oh, well, let me start all over.
2 point.
I'm
but
sorry,
yeah.
25.6, 25.7, 25.8, and 25.9. Seeing that there is no discussion, the motion is to move These resolutions of the regular board meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Trustee Luna?
Yes.
Treasurer Luna?
Yes.
Vice President King?
Yes.
President Clack?
Yes.
Trustee McNeil?
Yes.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre?
Yes.
Secretary Perkins?
Yes.
And myself, Trustee Rutherford, votes yes. Motion is passed, 7-0. Is there any further business? Seeing there's no further business, I declare the Academic Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned. I now turn the floor back over to President Clack. It is now sorry, you guys. It is now 9:11. Thank you.
Okay, so do any board members have any comments before we adjourn?
I do, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
Vice President King.
I would like to update the board on the orientation of Mason Costick and Malik Guys, our two scholar representatives on the board. I met with both of them. Wonderful scholars, wonderful. Mr. Costick is here. Mr. Guys couldn't make it yet. So he hopefully he can come next meeting or the following, but he's excited to come. They're all excited to learn about board work and us setting that example what leadership is. There are leaders in these schools, just hearing them talk, especially Mr. Costick. I'm talking with him over here. He's excited. So I just want to update the board. They're orientating what the board does, the agenda, their roles per the bylaws. Also, I would like to give a shout out to the young man that went to, one second, let me grab his name.
Jason Richardson.
Jason Richardson, yes. He went to the state wrestling let me get the word right. He went to the state level for wrestling, one of our scholars at ALA. That is a good round of applause for him doing that. So I'm excited to use my platform to highlight the good that's going on in FCS because we're on the rise. I'm excited. Even just going to the schools, seeing that how we honored the young man there. We all did it was a circle. I just walked in to talk to Mr. Guys, and they were surprising the young man with the clap out for him to go on to the States. That was just exciting. His family was there. It was just an exciting time to see that happen. And like I say, I was there by accident, but I'm glad I did and was able to see him there. But them are the good things that our scholars are doing inside of our schools and making us proud. So I would like to update the board on that and recognize that young man, but I'm excited to do the work for the district, to our community. Thank you for all that you do and instilling into us. Thank you.
President Clark?
I'm sorry, Trustee McIntyre.
Is anyone else going first?
You can go ahead. I'll go after you.
So yeah, I just wanted to thank the administration, thank my fellow board members. I think this is a really wonderful board meeting, and I just want to emphasize like how the culture and the climate has changed. You know, over the past couple of years, we've really moved forward thanks to Dr. Wolf and to Ms. Galloway for their work, bringing the work of the district forward. We've come a long way in the last year or two, and I know it seems like there's been a lot of discord and dissension, but there's also been a lot of positive movement forward, and I think this board or this meeting shows that. And so I'm really encouraged, and I continue to look forward to roll up our sleeves and start looking at some of those contracts and getting the work done. So thank you, everyone.
Okay, Treasurer Luna.
Yeah, I know it's getting late, so I'll be quick. Forget the meeting, but my colleague, Trustee Perkins, made the statement at a more contentious meeting that everybody had value on this board, and I really do believe that. And with value comes opportunity, and I really do believe that the district, if this board works with the community, the educators, the unions, and the administration and the entire administration, I think that we can really make transformational opportunity for our students and their families and just kind of begin like that stabilization and hopefully onto prosperity for our district and students. And I'll just say this too, I think we're on a ship right now and I don't really think it's time to change the crew, so I hope every one of my colleagues remains here and also the members of the administration too, because I really value what y'all do. You guys work really hard. No one's perfect. No policy is perfect, but I know we can really improve personally, professionally, but also how we operate. So that's it.
Treasurer
I just want, thank you, President Clack. I just want to first of all thank all my colleagues for a very productive meeting. And I just want everyone to know that we all must challenge each other to bring out the best. And I forwarded email out to everyone. It was just for information purposes only. And those are some of the things that I would like for us to pay attention to. And truth, trust, and transparency are the three things I will always stand on. And we all can have a good conversation, but our conversation must begin with the scholars and end with the scholars. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Trustee McNeil?
I want to give a shout out to TK. He was, what was, he did something at MASB. He was the, I don't know what did they use him for, but he was on MASB training, and they used him to handle one of our classes. Am I correct?
Oh, yes.
And I want to say you did a great job.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
Any more discussion? Okay, so the Board of Education will hold its regular board meeting on Wednesday, March 15th at 6:30 p.m. Here at Accelerated Learning Academy. Seeing there's no further business, I declare this board meeting over at 9:16, meeting adjourned.